and welcome to my creative space. Welcome to another DIY video. Today I have put together my favorite 50 plus spring DIYs, so grab a snack and enjoy.
For this project, I'm using this family sign, these metal welcome word, as well as these cute butterflies, some scrapbook paper, and I'm also going to use these rub-on stickers from Dollar Tree. All of this is from Dollar Tree, by the way, and some paint. You pick your colors. I'm going to be using some black paint and some white paint. Okay, I'm going to start with the frame, and as you can see, this was already removed. I did use this in a past project, but I wanted to show how the frame came. I'm going to start by removing the framing on this, and we're gonna leave the back by itself. I'm removing the frame, and we are also going to be removing the staples off of this because this is going to be glued back into place. And yeah, we're gonna remove the staples. Okay, now I'm going to take this scrapbook paper. This one is actually not from Dollar Tree. It's actually from Hobby Lobby, and you can buy or just use any paper you like. This is what I have and I loved it, so I'm going to use it and I'm going to hot glue it. Feel free to use some Mod Podge. Okay, now as usual, I'm going to take my sanding block to cut a perfect edge, and you just rub it on there until it removes what you don't need. This is what it's looking like. Now I'm going to take my frame pieces and I'm going to be painting this. I'm going to cover this completely in white, and I'm going to be using some white apple barrel paint, and I'm going to give it 2 coats of paint. Okay, now it's time for cute butterflies. I'm going to start with the lime green color. I'm going to be painting 2 of those butterflies. Once I am done with those, I'm going to be painting 2 purple. Originally, I was going to do yellow, but it was going to be too close to the lime green, so I decided to switch it for purple. And then the last one is this bluish, greenish, cute color. And I will try to find the colors and leave them in the description box. Okay, now I'm taking this rub-on stickers from Dollar Tree, and I am going to be spelling spring on these butterflies. They're really easy to use. Just cut them and then place them on the butterfly. Just rub them on there, and there you have it. Look how cute and easy. I forgot to record this part, but with the black spray paint, I spray painted the welcome metal word. And yeah, I'm so sorry. Now we're going to put these pieces together. I'm going to start to gluing down the the frame. And I'm using some hot glue, just how I told you I was gonna do. So I'm just placing them under exactly how they were before. And once that is done, I am going to start gluing my little butterflies. And I think this project is so cute. I absolutely love how this turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you have done something different? Are you going to give it a try? Let me know everything down below. Once all of them are glued, I'm going to glue my welcome metal word, and now it's going to say welcome spring. This is so cute. Now that is all for this project. Here is the end result. Look how gorgeous this sign turned out. I absolutely love it. For the next project, I'm using this jar sign as well as 2 of these square signs that I picked up a while ago. I'm also going to need a few popsicle sticks, some florals. These are the ones I'm going to use, and then some purple paint, some white paint, and a little bit of black paint. Okay, first things first, I'm going to start by grabbing my signs and removing the hangers as well as the staples. These are going to get in the way. We don't need them, so remove them. Then off of the jar sign, I do the exact same thing. And once that is done, I'll put it to the side. Now I'm going to take one of the square signs and I'm going to be sanding the back of one of them. And then I'm going to take a ruler and I'm going to be finding exactly where I need to cut. We're going to make a big tag looking sign. So I will be cutting 2 inches off of each corner. and I'll trace it with a ruler. And once that is done, I will do this part off camera, but using my hacksaw, I trim both corners and just the sanding sponge to smooth those corners. Okay, now I'm going to take my popsicle sticks and we're going to glue both of these signs together. As you can see right now, I'm gluing these popsicle sticks. Now that that is done, I'm going to take my white paint, and you can paint this any color. I decided to go with white, and I'm distressing this, so I am just dry brushing some paint on there until I think it's enough. Now it's time to take the jar, and I'm removing the top part, save it for later. And I'm going to take the jar and I'm sanding down where the hanger was, which it was kind of pointless, so I guess ignore that part. I don't know why I showed this. Anyway, I'm going to take my purple paint. It's from Waverly. The color will be listed down below. And I'm just going to completely coat this jar, and I gave it 2 good coats of paint. Don't forget the edges. Okay, now I had these metal words from Dollar Tree and I thought it was the perfect time to use them. So I'm taking the word welcome and home, and I'm going to spray paint them black. Now back to the jar. After it's dried, I'm going to take some black paint. This part is optional, but I wanted to give it a little bit more dimension, so I took some black paint and I'm going to be giving this jar some shadows to make it look more like a mason jar. And I'm just going to be painting the edges wherever I think it needs it. I did get some inspo from Etsy. I saw a few of these projects and I just thought I needed to make one because I absolutely love them. So this is my take on it. Now I'm also going to be spelling ball, which is I think the brand, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I thought it would give it another or I guess a better look to it, and not just like a purple jar. You could add anything you want on it. I just decided to go for this because I don't know, I just liked it like this. And as you can see, these words are not perfect, so I'm trying my best. Okay, now it's time to put all of these pieces together. So I placed welcome home on there, and I just try to figure out exactly where they will look better. So once I figured it out, I grabbed some hot glue and I started gluing these words on there. Now you could do anything you want with this. The options are endless. This is what I end up doing for mine. Now it's time to glue back that piece we removed at the beginning from the jar. We're gonna glue it right back. And now I'm going to start playing with these florals and kind of just placing them wherever I think they will look good. Of course, you could change the flowers. The white flowers are from Dollar Tree, and these other pinkish orangey color flowers, those are from Walmart. And I believe I got them last year, and I want to say they were $1, and it comes with like 4 little flowers on the bunch. But yeah, once I glue all my flowers down, I'm going to start adding these purple flowers or little branches from Dollar Tree. No, I'm sorry, they're not from Dollar Tree. They're also from Walmart, and I want to say they were $1 too. Look how cute this is looking. I absolutely love it. Now I trim off some of these purplish flowers and add them right there at the bottom just to give it a little bit more volume. And I gave it a better look. And now it's time for the fun. It's time to complete this project. Now we're going to glue down our jar, and look how cute this is. Now to finish up this project, I'm going to take some crafting paper to cover the back because we don't want it to look ugly. We want it to look nice and finished. And I learned this trick from Unicorn Dust Designs. She does this and it's changed my life. Absolutely love this. Now I'm going to do the exact same thing I do all the time. Just rub this standing block on there and it creates perfect cuts for you. And that completes this project. Look at the end result. Tell me if this is not beautiful. I love this. Absolutely love it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For the next project, I'm going to use this metal wreath, this candle holder. I'm also going to be using some florals. These are from Dollar Tree. And I'm going to be using these other tiny cute roses I picked up recently from Dollar Tree. And I'm also going to use some white paint. Okay, I'm going to start by removing the tag and using my white paint to paint this candle holder. I am going to give it 2 coats of paint because 1 is not going to be enough. Feel free to paint this any color you like. Okay, once that is dried, it's time. I decided to switch for this other brown wreath that I had. It came in a pack of like 3 of those circle wreath, but I didn't have some gold paint, which is what I wanted, and that's why I end up switching for this other brown one. But you feel free to paint these rings whatever color you want. Okay, as you can see, I placed some floral foam right there inside where the candle will go. And I end up adding some little sticks that is to be for support. Those are, what are those called? Bamboo sticks from Dollar Tree. And I added a bunch of hot glue and waited until it dried, and the trick never gets old. Now it's time to start adding our greenery. These tiny flowers, I picked them up from Dollar Tree during fall, and I absolutely love them. I love the colors, and I thought it would be perfect for spring decor, even though they put them out for fall. I don't know, I love them, so I'm going to use them. Then I also started gluing my 3 flowers that are from Dollar Tree, and now I am going to start adding these cute little roses. Aren't these flowers so cute? By the way, this piece would be perfect as a centerpiece for like a really cute wedding or like a quinceañera. You could use this. I know I'm going to use these for my daughter's birthday party, which is coming up soon. But anyways, I thought I would share this with you because I think it's perfect as spring decor. That completes this project. Now look at how beautiful this piece turned out. I think it looks very high end, but that is just my thought. Let me know what you think. For my last and not least project, I'm going to take this home frame I picked up from Target. It was $3. I'm going to use this circle, or I guess oval piece of wood, and these rub-on stickers. And I also end up using some white paint. First, I'm taking this piece of wood. This one is from Hobby Lobby, by the way, but I know Dollar Tree carries these pieces now, and you just need something in the shape of a home. I decided to go through all this process, but I think you can find something in the shape of a home at Dollar Tree. I'm pretty sure you can. Anyways, I took my hacksaw and cut this off, and now I'm going to be using some white paint to paint this home completely. I give it 1 good coat of paint, and I decided to go with white, but you could go with any color you like. Okay, now I'm going to take my rub-on stickers. These are really cute leaves, and these rub-on stickers are from Dollar Tree. I picked them up last year. I haven't looked for them this year, but I'm pretty sure they're gonna come out with them again. If not, I'm so sorry. But I thought I would include it because it was such an easy project, and if you can find this stuff, then I would really recommend you to grab them because these rub-on stickers are life-changing, especially if you don't have a Cricut machine, and they're so easy to use. You just rub them, and then you just peel the sticker off, and the actual letter, or in this case leaves, they just stick on there and you are done with it. You know what? I'm going to make it my mission to find these rub-on stickers again, and I will keep you posted. If you don't follow me on Instagram, then be sure to follow me there because I will be posting updates on Instagram. But anyway, so that is all I do for this part. Once I am done placing all these rub-on stickers, we are going to move to the next part, which is gluing our home into place. So how are we going to do that? Yes, you guessed it. We're going to add some hot glue and then place that home right there. And then I cut our nest on my Cricut machine, but if you have rub-on stickers, then you can just use them, or any sticker. You could really do anything with stickers. So that is all I do for this project, and here is the end result.
For DIY number 1, I'm taking two Dollar Tree canvas. These ones are 8 by 10. I'm going to start by removing the wrapping. Now that I have that, I am going to take these pliers and I am going to start removing the staples. It was very easy to do with these because they're pointy, so I would say try to find something pointy that is not sharp that you can cut yourself with. Anyway, once you do that, you're gonna have these two frames, and as you can see, you can totally see where the staples were removed. So we're gonna glue those two sides together. And let me tell you, these frames were only sisters. They were not twins because they were not even. But just make sure that the side you're going to use to stand it's even, that way you're able to stand it. Now I'm gonna take my Waverly chalk paint and I am going to paint the whole frame in this color. And as always, check out my description box for any paint or tools that I use on my videos. Now I'm gonna take this wooden box, and this one came from the Dollar Tree. I'm going to try to find it in their website and I will link it in the description box. But anyway, I'm just gonna take this box and I am going to stain it. And now I'm going to take my frame and two little hooks. I will leave the information on these below. And I'm going to take a ruler and I'm just trying to figure out exactly where I want them to sit. And then these are so simple to do. This wood is really thin, so you're able to screw them on there with just your hands. So that's what I'm gonna do, and I will realize in a second that these are not sitting in the same place, so I go back in there and unscrew it and then screw it back on there, and now they're good to go. But because I did mess up, now I have to go back with paint, and as you can see, the bottom was not painted and it was bothering me, so I fixed that as well. Now I am going to take my little box in this piece of rope, because this is what is going to be helping our little planter be floating. So I figure out how much I need this to be, or how long I need this to be, and then I cut both of my pieces. I create a little knot at the bottom, and then once I have that, I am going to grab my ruler and I am going to find the middle on each side. That way when I glue my little hangers, they are even. And once I figure that out, I am going to add some glue at the end where I created the knot, and then I will reinforce with a lot more of hot glue. And now all that's left is decorate this little box. I'm going to be using this Dollar Tree greenery, and as always, I cut it into smaller pieces or smaller branches, and I added some floral foam into the box. I glue it down, and then I just added all the greenery. Now it's time to test this and see if it's going to stand. Here is the moment of truth, and it did. Whoop whoop, that is success. And here is the end result. I love how these floating planters turn out. For this DIY, I'm using these popsicle sticks and these wooden dowels, and this will be mostly what we will be needing. And I'm gonna take 6 of them first, and I'm gonna trim the ends. I want them to be even because we are trying to create a hexagon as the vase. Okay, here they are, and then I realized they were a little bit too big for what I was going for. So I go back in there, take my ruler, and cut them into 4 inches. And all of them are going to be 4 inches. Once I have all of them, I place them down again into a hexagon, and now it's time to start gluing. Now here's a tip so you don't struggle and I save you some time. Do you remember, if you've seen my video, the bunny that I created with the popsicle sticks? You might want to include, or at least use something like that, or cut out something into a hexagon first and then glue these popsicle sticks, because as you can see, I'm struggling here trying to get this shape going. And I mean, I did, but then if you have a base already into a hexagon, you save so much time. I didn't realize this until I was like halfway on this. But anyway, so now I'm going to take some more popsicle sticks, yes, you guessed it, and I am going to be creating the bottom of this bird cage. Now I am going to be cutting them some longer than others because I'm trying to make it look nice. So you can do all of them the same size. Even if you have the jumbo ones, like the really big ones, it would be so much easier and faster, I feel like. But I don't know because I didn't use them. But anyway, in my head it does make sense. But anyway, so I'm gonna keep placing them on there. Once I do have enough to cover up the whole hexagon, I'm gonna take a pencil and I am going to start tracing this hexagon on there. And try to be careful because they will move. This is what I'm talking about. If you would have a base already made, this would be happening. All you would have to do is just cut them. But anyway, at the time it seemed like the right thing to do. And now once I have them ready, I'm gonna start by taking my first popsicle stick, cutting it where I marked, and then adding some hot glue. Here's where I realized that I should have done that, because this is what I was talking about. This is why I did the bunny how I did it on that other video, because I didn't want all that glue in there in between each popsicle stick. But I don't know why I didn't thought about it. But anyway, so I am just basically going to be trimming each popsicle stick one by one, because I'm not trying to get confused, and then gluing them onto my hexagon here. The last one was a little bit too big, so I had to trim it a little bit more. And then I went in with hot glue, and I'm gonna glue it, and you will see in a second that I have to go back in there and fix some mistakes. As you can see here, some of the popsicle sticks were sticking way too much, so I had to go in there and cut them off. And then I just grabbed my sanding block and started sanding that so it can look nice. And then I also sand the inside just to try to get rid of some of that glue in there that it was bothering me. Okay, this is what it looks like. It looks rough at the bottom. I know. It will be fine. Trust me. Trust the process. Now it's time to start gluing the wooden dowels. So you need 6 of these longer wooden dowels. They're 12 inches tall. And I am going to start gluing them into each corner. And I will see you in a second. This is what it's looking like so far. Now I'm gonna take 3 more wooden dowels, and they measure 12 inches. So I'm gonna cut them in half. So now I'm gonna have 6-inch wooden dowels, and I'm gonna be grabbing my sanding sponge, and I'm gonna try to sand the edges where I cut them so they're not so rough. Okay, now I'm gonna start by gluing 2 of them into place, and I added glue to the wooden dowels, and then into the where I glue the other 2 together. I hope that makes sense, in the middle. And then I'm gonna hold them on there for a few seconds until it kind of dries so I can let go of them. And this is what they look like. Now I'm gonna start gluing them individually just to make sure that everything is fine and I can have more control. And yeah, this is what it's looking like. It's looking good so far. Now I am going to be taking this little knob that I already had on hand, and honestly I don't remember where it came from, but you could just find something that you want to decorate the top of this birdcage with. Now I'm gonna take some of these bamboo skewers, and I am going to be cutting them as I need them, and that is going to be glue where each of these wooden dowels meet, just to try to cover that up and also try to make it look more like a birdcage. Now once they are completely glued on there, I'm going to be taking my Waverly chalk paint, and I will be using this to paint my whole cage in this color. And we are almost done. How exciting is that? Whoop whoop. Here is a look at how this birdcage is looking, and I am in love with this. Now you can leave it just white, that's totally fine, but I decided to distress mine with my antique wax from Waverly. And let me tell you, I did test it with just white and decorated and everything, and it didn't look as good to me like how it did once I distressed it. I love this. Once I'm done distressing it, I am going to be grabbing some greenery and kind of just styling this little cage. And I love this. This greenery, by the way, came from Walmart. And as always, I cut my pieces individually because sometimes they're too long. So that's just my preference. But anyway, so I'm just filling in the bottom. That little house that you see in the middle, I also DIY'd it. So I will show you right after this DIY how I did that. And here is the end result. I love this bird cage. It's totally one of my favorites. For this DIY, I'm taking this Dollar Tree house that also happens to light up, and I am going to take my stain and I am going to be staining this house completely. Now I decided to not use the little light, so I just popped it out and I just kept staining it. And once it's completely stained, I am going to grab this little pillar I found at the Dollar Tree, and I really like how it looks. It looks really high-end. Now it's just a matter of gluing this house onto this pillar, and as you saw, I added a little jute rope bow and then just style it. I just added some greenery and I love how this little house turned out. For this DIY, I'm using this Dollar Tree bucket I found, and honestly, how cute is this bucket? I love how cute this is. But I decided to paint mine white. Now you can leave yours how it is, or you can paint it a different color, but I went for white for mine because why not? And then once it's completely painted, now it's time to move on. I'm gonna grab some floral foam, and as you will see, I am kind of struggling on how to glue this. I wasn't sure how I wanted to glue this, but then I figured it out. Don't worry. Now the next step is to grab a branch, and this one I picked it up from my front yard, so it was free. Whoop whoop. And then I am going to be using these cute pink flowers I already had on hand. They came from the Dollar Tree. I just took them off the little branch, and as you can see, some of them are smaller than others, so I went for the little bigger ones first, and then I just added the smaller ones randomly on this little tree. This is what this tree is looking like. Doesn't this look like apple blossom? I think it does. Now you can leave it how it is, or you can add these cute little eggs I found. I decided to go in with them because I wanted it to have a hint to Easter as well, and I thought it was a really cool idea. So I took these eggs and took them off the skewers, and they already had a little hole from where the skewer was sitting. So I just took some jute rope and created little knots and start pushing them onto the little already made holes, and I glued them on there. And then I just figured out exactly where they were gonna go and started cutting them, and then I just added some glue to the branch and started gluing my little rope on there. Now I do end up adding the little bows on there as well. The little tails were a little too long, so I do trim them too. And yeah, so this is what it's looking like so far. I apologize because these specific DIY was not showing everything I wanted to show. My camera moved and I didn't realize it. I promise you I'm trying my best, and I will continue to try my best. And now all that's left is just to add some Spanish moss into this little bucket to cover that up. And I also end up distressing the bucket a little bit off camera. And here is a look at how this really cool spring Easter tree turned out. I love this little tree. First project, I'm using this wire wreath that says welcome, as well as this candle holder. I'm also going to use a little bit of floral foam and also some greenery. I am just going to grab what I have on hand, and here's a whole bunch. I'm also using some spray paint. Okay, because I'm gonna have to let these dry for a while, I'm going to start with these. I'm going to spray paint my wire welcome sign wreath, and I'm also going to spray paint the candle holder. I'm going to give it a couple of coats just to make sure everything's covered up, and then we'll put it to the side to let it dry. Okay, once everything is dry, here is what it's looking like. I'm going to take a piece of this floral foam. I'm going to cut it to make sure it fits into this candle holder. Once it's inside, you know, I go back in it, I cut it a little bit more. Now I thought that I could just stick this on here and call it a day. No, it's not going to hold. It's wobbly, so I kind of struggle here, but all I did was add a whole bunch of hot glue, and I just let it dry for a little bit and then add some more. And then I was like, this is still not working. It was still not strong enough, so I had these what are they called, like wooden dowels I cut from the past project. If you watch the video, you know what I'm talking about. So I took those two of them and I stuck them on there and added a whole more bunch of hot glue, held this wire wreath until it dried, and look at it, now it's actually working because the wooden dowels are going to help it stay in place. Okay, now that everything's dry and sturdy, I'm going to start adding some greenery. I am just going to add it to where we put the floral foam, and I'm gonna go around, cover the front and back, just adding as much as I think I need to cover up that floral foam. And yeah, that's all what I'm going to do right now. So here is what it's looking like when once it's a little bit more full. I don't know what's wrong with me. I can't talk today. I'm so sorry. I'm also trimming the wire part just to make sure that it's not too long. Okay, now that all the greenery I want there, it's there, I'm going in with these little flowers. They're like a really light pink color. I really love them. I added a few of them just to the front because that's the only part I'm going to see. And yeah, that's all I did for the front. Once I was happy with it, I move on to the next step. Okay, next, I wanted to cover up that hanger that it's at the very top because it was bothering me. So I am going to be creating a small bow, and this part will be optional to you if you decide to recreate it, which if you do, you should follow me on Instagram so you can tag me in it and I can share it on my Instagram. But anyway, so I just create a little bow. I showed in my last video exactly what I do, so I'm going a little faster here. But once I did it, I had this trim that I picked up from Dollar Tree. It came with 3 different trims, and the other 2 had been used. This one is not, so that's what I'm gonna use to cover up the middle. And once I had it glued there, I kind of played around and try to see where I want this bow to be. Once I was happy, I just wrapped around this trim, and then I'm going to be hot gluing it into place, as you can see. And that is all for this project. Now let's look at the end result. And here it is. I absolutely love how this project turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For this project, I'm going to be using this cone-shaped floral foam. I showed you this bucket, but I won't be using it, but it is an option. Now, I'm going to be using this greenery. This one's from Walmart from last year. It's like 2 bunches of it. I'm going to be using some white and black paint. And like I said, I will be using this vase instead of the bucket because I end up switching my mind. Okay, so I did off camera because I didn't know if I was gonna use it, but I spray painted this vase in the color black. I just felt like this was something more of what I was envisioning, so I decided to do that, and I was very happy with the end result. Okay, so as you can see, I mixed some white paint with some of the what is that called, baking soda, and it's so I can give it a little bit more of a chalk feel to it. And I am going to be painting a line at the bottom. I just winged it. This brush is from Dollar Tree. It's very sturdy, and it was actually, I did a pretty good job. I did a very straight line, kind of. You won't be able to notice it. There's small little parts where I kind of mess up, but it did not turn as bad as I thought it would be. I was a little scared when I started, but then I was like, you know what, this is not looking as bad. So here it is completed. Okay, next step, I decided to spray paint this cone just because I know Dollar Tree does sell the green cones. I just didn't find any, so I decided to cover up because with spray paint, because I'm going to be adding this greenery on it, and I didn't want to see the white under. I felt like if I left it like that, it was definitely going to show up, so I decided to go for that. As you can see, I am gluing the greenery in there. I cut it in individual pieces, and I just started gluing it to try to cover up everything. Here is what I got so far. Now I'm just, as you can see, I'm just using some hot glue to do that. I'm going to finish covering this up, and like I said, I want to say that these were 2 bunches. They were just cut individually like you're seeing right now. Okay, so when I got to the bottom, I wanted to cover it up, and so I cut smaller pieces and I started gluing them around the edge of this cone. And it takes a lot of patience, but I absolutely love the end result. I would say just be careful because it's hot glue and it's gonna be hot. Okay, here is what it's looking like. I'm just adding a few more to where I felt it was bald. Okay, next step, I just wanted to show you this because this is what I did. Okay, so I needed something to help erase the tree so it wouldn't sink down. So I created with items that I just randomly picked. I picked this ball, and it came in a pack of like 3 or 4 from Dollar Tree. And then I had this empty roll, and I just felt that it was going to be perfect for this to help the tree stand up. And I just glued those two random items together, and now I'm gonna sit them inside the vase. And now I am going to be gluing the tree onto this empty roll, and it's flat and it's perfect, so it worked for me. I just show you as an idea. You do what you think is best for you, but that basically completes this project. It was really easy, and I think it turned out amazing. Now let's look at the end result, and here it is. I think this is super cute. Absolutely love it. Let me know what you think. For this project, I am going to be using this beautiful sign I found at Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be using a wooden crate. Mine has seen better days. It's been used, but we're gonna move on. And now I'm also going to be using some black, some brown paint, and as well as some greenery. Okay, I'm going to start with my little box. I'm going to paint this completely in the color black. I'm using the chalk paint from Dollar Tree, so I'll give it a very good coat of paint, all 4 sides, a little bit of the inside, and we're gonna move on. Next step, I'm going to be using this really light brown / beige color paint. This one I picked it up from Hobby Lobby a long time ago. I picked this one because it's the closest to the color that the sign has. So I'm going to be painting it or painting the indentions, or what would they be called, creases or whatever they're called, to define this crate. And then I will grab a different brush, and I'm going to be distressing it with the same color paint. I will make sure that I cover this box completely, and I'm going to also be doing a little bit on the inside just because I want everything to look nice. And then I will be adding greenery inside, but I want to make sure that if there's anything peeking out, it will all be cohesive. Okay, so once the paint was dried, I was like, let me distress it a little bit more because I feel like I went a little bit heavy on the brown and it was not working. So what I decided to do was grab some more black paint and kind of just go back in there with some black paint. And I love this a lot more. I think it looks, a lot more closer to the color and the style this sign has. See how cute it is? I love it. Now I'm gonna let it dry. Once my cute box was completely dried, I decided to grab some twine rope, and I'm going to be tying it around where the handles are. I gave it a few, I wrapped it around a few times, and once I was happy, I decided to glue it down. As you can see, I'm going back in there a couple of times, and once I thought it was enough, it was time for some hot glue. And I guess I also trimmed down what I didn't need. Once it was dried, I move on to the other end, and here it is what I got. Now I'm gonna do the other side off camera. Now it's time to move to the sign. What I'm going to do is remove the hanger, and it's stapled on there, so I remove the staples. Then I go in with my setting sponge just to make sure everything's smooth. Now this part is optional. I decided to take off the wreath that this came with. I didn't like the color on that greenery, so I'm going to be adding my own. So I just took this green thing I had from a bouquet of the dry flowers that Dollar Tree sells, and I grabbed it because it was green. Now I had this random greenery that is also from Dollar Tree, and I had it like this for a while because I've used it in many projects, and I decided to use that to create the new wreath. I just felt like I love these leaves better, and I just wanted a wreath that was going to be more full. So I just started gluing them around this thing. Now that I have my wreath, I'm going to be gluing it into place, and look how much better this looks. At least to me, I absolutely love this wreath now. Once it's glued down, it's time to move to the next step. Okay, now it's fun time. We're gonna put all of this together. Now I'm going to be gluing my sign onto my box. I'm going to be using some hot glue, and I want to be able to see the whole word that spells home. So I'm gluing the tiniest bit edge of this sign. Now all I'm going to do is add some floral foam, and then have fun. I'm going to be using some greenery to stuff it in. But you can use this box for many things. Like you can throw your keys in there, you can fill it up with candy, you could do so many things with it. I decided to go with greenery, but the options are endless. And now here it is, the end result. I absolutely love how this project turned out. I know I said this about a lot of my projects, but this one is definitely one of my favorites. For this project, I'm using this metal truck from Dollar Tree as well as this canvas. It's been used, I know. And I'm also using this wooden planks, some twine rope, some tumbling blocks, and some more greenery. Okay, I'm going to start by removing the sheet on this canvas. I don't know what they're called. I need to find out. Let me know if you know what they're called. Okay, so I'm going to be cutting this off with this roller knife. And I remove this completely, and then I peel the back as well. Now, as you can see, it has some staples left in there. And so I'm taking the skinny pliers and I'm going to be removing all the staples from the back. It was not hard, but it definitely takes some patience. You could leave them there, but I wanted to remove them, so you do you. Okay, now that all the staples are off, I'm going to take my sanding block and sand this down. I forgot to mention this. I'm also using some black spray paint. I'm going with this because it's going to be a little bit more shiny, and that's what I was going for. But if you have any other black paint, go ahead and use it. Also, don't forget to spray paint 2 of your tumbling blocks. Okay, now I'm going to take this wooden plank, and where I'm pointing right now, I'm going to be cutting it. I won't be showing you this part, but you will see once I cut it. Okay, now I'm going to take my little truck and I'm removing the hanger off of this. Once that is done, I am bringing the back of my truck now. So I cut it down because this is going to be the back of this truck. Okay, so I originally was going to leave it this color, but then I was like, I don't really like that natural wood color. So I went in with my antique wax from Waverly, and I liked it a lot more this way. I'm not going to be painting the back because 1, I'm not going to see it. And then 2, once you add wax, it's really hard to make glue stick to anything. And that's something I've experienced. Maybe I'm doing something wrong, but I'm just not going to risk it. Once that is completely painted, I am going to move on to grabbing a Sharpie. This part is optional. I just wanted to see the lights and some of the little details on this truck. Dollar Tree does sell one that it has already the black marks on there, but it was flat and I didn't like it. I like this one more. That's why I'm doing this extra step. Okay, time to glue our fence to the back of the truck. But before that, I'm adding some greenery. Now that everything's glued there, I am going to add some hot glue to the thicker portion of this fence, and I'm going to hot glue it down. Just held it in there until it's actually glued. And now it's time to put all these pieces together. What I'm gonna do is place this truck to try to figure out where exactly I need it to sit. I want this kind of floating in the air, so I'm taking some twine rope and I'm going to be creating a thick knot on one of the ends. And once that is done, I'm going to run it through the little holes that were already there. And now all I'm going to do is wrap around the extra twine rope, and I'm just gonna give it like 3 wraps around, and then I will hot glue it. And that is all I do for this part. Now once that is done, I will do the other side off camera. And now all that's left is to glue our tumbling blocks to the bottom so we can make this frame stand. As you can see, I completely forgot about them. So do as I say, not as I do. I had to go back in there and paint them to make sure it matched the whole project. And now here it is, the end result. I absolutely love all of these projects. Definitely had my favorites. Let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite. For this project, I'm going to be using 2 of these wooden cubes, a few boxes from Dollar Tree, different sizes, you pick. I'm also going to use some different color paints, as well as these new paints. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. Some greenery and some floral foam. I'm also going to use some stickers. Okay, first things first, I am going to start by painting each box / cube a different color. I pick my colors. Some of these are from Waverly, and you will find the exact name in my description box. Okay, so I picked up these tempera spray paint from Dollar Tree, and it's supposed to be newer. And this one came in a pack with this lighter pink and a darker pink, and I was so excited. And I don't know much about paint, but per what I read, it's supposed to be yolk vase, and I was like, interesting. But anyways, the point is that I tried it because I really like that pink color in the bottle, but once I used it, it became a really light pink color, and I was like, I don't have time for this. So honestly, I didn't do the review correctly. I ended up using regular spray paint, and I moved on to the next step. So I'm sorry, maybe later on I will do a review. Maybe we can do it on Instagram, or maybe I can do it on a live. Let me know if you're interested, and we'll do something about that. But anyways, moving on, I decided to distress these boxes because I feel like the colors were too deep for me. So I ended up using some white paint to distress them. Once they were dried, I started adding floral foam to the actual boxes. And once that was glued into place, I started gluing my boxes. I didn't put them in any specific order. I kind of just started playing with them and then arranged them. And I decided that I wanted them to go like this because I liked the different sizes in them. And I don't know, I just liked the way they were looking. And so that's what I did. Once that was done, now it's time to add the wording on there. You could use all Dollar Tree stickers. I decided to only use the P and the N, and then I used my Cricut machine and cut the rest of the letters in a bigger size so they could have different size letters. Once that was done, I started adding some Spanish moss into my little boxes so we can start adding our greenery after that. And yeah, I'm going to be using different greenery. This one, the yellowish, is from the most recent greenery the Dollar Tree came out. The same as these really pretty lavender flowers. I really love them. I need to pick up some more. Now I added some roses. I ended up switching those green flowers for different ones. And honestly, that is all for this project. Now let's take a look at the end result. And here it is, the end result. I absolutely love how colorful and how springy this looks. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For the next project, I'm using this Dollar Tree wheel wreath as well as some greenery, that wire garland, some flowers, and I'm recycling this sign from last year, and I'm also going to need a bow. Okay, now I'm going to start with the wire garland. Now it doesn't have to be this one, it could be any wire, or you can even use some something to just wrap your flowers greenery around. I took the lavenders and I cut them individually, and with the wire wreath, or I'm sorry, not the wire wreath, the wire garland, I'm going to use that to wrap around these lavenders. I'm so sorry, my head is like all over the place. I'm a little sick. Well, I'm not sick. I am dealing with allergies. So if my voice sounds a little deeper, is because of that. I am so sorry. Anyways, I end up wrapping 7 of the individual lavenders on the top and 4 at the bottom, and I left some space, and you'll see why. Now I'm going to take my pink flowers, and I'm going to also take them and cut them individually, and then I'll grab one by one and I'll start placing them on there. I want to say I used 2 bunches of these flowers, 2 little bouquets. And then I added a lot more on the top because, of course, there's more lavenders on the top. And then I added like 3 or 4 at the bottom. Now, I decided to add these white flowers as well. And I cut them individually too. And then I just kind of stuffed them where I think I needed them. And I am so sorry because I don't know if it was my phone, where the one I used for recording, or if it was my light. But for some reason, some of these clips look purple. Like now, can you see how the color changed? And I'm like, you can even tell what color I'm using. It looks grayish, like, I don't even know, like gray color, but it's not. It's like a really pretty blue I used to color this sign. As you can see, this is the color it should be looking like. I don't know, something was wrong. I will make sure I figure it out before I do my next video. But we had to use these clips because these projects were done. There was no going back, and yeah, that's what happened. But anyways, as you can see, I painted this on, and then using my Cricut machine, I printed or I cut Hello Spring with some vinyl, and I created a little sign. Now I'm going to be gluing it onto my wreath, and then I use some ribbon to reinforce in the back to make sure all is going to stay in place, and I glue it to the wire. Wherever the wire was, that's where I added it. After that was done, I added my little bow to the top of the sign just as a detail, and that completes this project. Now here is the end result, and this one is one of my favorites in this video. I think this wreath turned out beautiful. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For this project, I'm using these scraps of wood. I'm also using this tin flower container, some Dollar Tree flowers and greenery, as well as some floral foam, some white paint, and also some stencils. Okay, I'm going to start with the scraps of wood. Now keep in mind, you can recreate this. You could use Dollar Tree signs. I just wanted to use this scraps of wood I had on hand. And now I took these two scraps of wood or sticks that I had and some nails, and I'm gonna nail all these pieces together. Once everything is nailed down, I am going to be painting this completely in white. You could leave it how it is. I wanted to paint mine white. You could paint it any color you want. Once that is painted and drying, now I'm going to take my floral tin and some floral foam, and I'm going to glue it to the bottom. Now I'm adding some Spanish moss to cover all that foam, and then it's time to have fun. Now you could use any flowers you want or any greenery, honestly, but my sign is going to say fresh cut flowers, so I decided to go with flowers. Now as you can see, I placed the greenery on there, and it was all a whole bunch, and then I was like, it's not looking good. Once I added the flowers, they kind of got lost, so I decided to add the flowers and then cut the leaves individually and kind of just play around and like place them wherever I thought I needed them. I decided with 3 different types of flowers because it's supposed to be a sign that says fresh cut flowers, so I decided I needed different flowers. So as you can see, there's some roses, and anyways, yeah, you get the idea. Now, once that is done, we're going to put it to the side. Okay, once my wooden pieces are dried, I cut a stencil because I ran out of black vinyl, and I was a little bit disappointed, but at the end I ended up liking this. So I created the stencil, and then I painted it completely in black. And then once that was dried, I started removing this, and I knew this was gonna happen because it kind of bleed through it, and it wasn't perfect like I wanted it. But then after that, I was like, well, maybe we can still fix this. And so I decided to sand it. So I grabbed my block, my sanding block, and sand it, and it kind of looks rustic now. And even though it was not what I was picturing it still turned out really, really pretty. Now I am grabbing my drill, and I'm going to create 2 little holes on my tin container, and I will create the same holes on my wooden pieces. And this is going to help us get these attached. I used some twine, and I ran it through the holes on the pot or on the tin container, and then I ran them through the holes on the wooden pieces, and that is what is going to make sure it keeps it together. And that way when I hang it on my wall, everything's going to be safe and it's going to be fine. And that is all for this project. Now take a look at how this sign turned out. I absolutely love it. This is my second favorite maybe from this video. Maybe this one and the other one are my number 1 favorites, but anyways, those are mine. Let me know what you think about this project. For this project, I'm going to be using this ring wreath, as well as some lavenders, some Dollar Tree ribbon, and this cute little stand as well from Dollar Tree. I'm going to start by taking my ribbon and gluing it to this ring. I add some hot glue. I find the middle on this circle. It doesn't necessarily need to be the middle, but that's what I did with this one. Now I add glue to the other side and then I wrap it behind it. I am going to trim my ribbon to make sure, everything is even. And then I glue it to where we started. And even though it's not going to be like really tight in the back, I end up adding a little bit of glue to make sure it's tight on the back. Now I'm going to continue to do the exact same thing. I added some hot glue. I'm going to glue it on there. And I start on the side that is going to be the back, just to make sure that if I mess up or something is uneven, it's going to be on the back. And then I did the exact same thing behind it. Now for the bottom portion, it's a smaller portion. I add some hot glue to the end and then I glue the little ribbon on there, as you can see. And then I trimmed it at the bottom because it's not going to be enough to cover the whole thing. So I cut 2 different pieces to cover the front and back. As you can see, I'm removing what we're not going to be needing now, and that creates a little pocket. Now once our pocket is completed, it's time to cut these lavenders individually. All we're going to do is stuff them in our pocket that we created. So it doesn't have to be lavenders. I just choose to use lavenders. I think they look really, really pretty. Now, once all of them are stuffed in there, this is what it's looking like. Now, you could leave it how it is, but me being extra, I decided to add this other ribbon on there. This is the wire ribbon from Dollar Tree, and it looks like burlap trim. And I added it because it has that little white piece hint on there, and I thought it would be a good contrast with the ribbon that we're already using as a pocket. Now I also created this little bow. It's a very simple bow. It's the exact same way I do all my bows, and that completes this project. All you do is grab your stand, and here it is. I think this is a very simple but yet beautiful project. Let me know what you think. Would you recreate it? Let me know. For this project, I'm using this board I found at Goodwill for 69 cents. I'm also going to be using some white black paint as well as different color paint. And I'm also using this laser cutouts in the shapes of flowers and butterflies. I'm going to start with this board piece, and I'm going to paint the top in the color white. Dollar Tree does sell something similar to this, and it cost $3, I believe. And yeah, it doesn't have to be this. It could be a frame. It could be anything you want. Okay, now I'm taking my flowers and my butterflies, and I'm going to be painting them. And I want to apologize because I really thought I was recording when I was painting these flowers, and I don't have the footage, so I'm so sorry. But the point here is, make it your own, use the colors you want, paint your flowers whatever color. Now, once that is done, we'll let them dry. Now we move on to the next step, which I'm going to be painting the whole side edge on this board in the color black. I wanted to do the bottom black and then the middle a different color. I was going to do pink, but it did not end up working out, so I ended up painting completely in black. Okay, here are all my flowers, butterflies, and everything I painted, and it's completely dry. So now I play around with my flowers, kind of figure out where I want them. Once I do that, I am going to use some hot glue to start gluing them. I'm going to start with the flowers that have the leaves just to make sure they are down, and that can help me guide me put the other ones into place. This is looking really, really cute. Now I'm going to add my butterflies, and as you can see, I saved one of the flowers and one of the butterflies to go on the top left corner. And now using my Cricut machine and vinyl, I'm going to spell happiness blooms here, and you know the drill. I'm just placing my word right there, making sure it's even, and then I'll do the other one, and that completes this project. And here it is, the end result. For this project, I will be using 3 of these little houses from Dollar Tree. They're different sizes. I'm also going to be needing this stick. It measures 24 inches. And then I am going to use vinyl, but you can use stickers or anything you have on hand. And then black paint, you make your choice, whether you want to spray or liquid. And then I am going to start with the 3 little houses in the stick. And I'm trying to put them on top of the stick to see exactly where I want them to sit, and then I am going to use hot glue to hold them into place. And then as you can see, I added the hot glue and then put the house on top, but I wasn't sure if it was sitting in the middle. I tried to use a ruler and it didn't seem right, so I turned it around, ended up removing it and then adding some more hot glue, and this way I could see a lot better. And I end up grabbing my ruler and it was sitting in the middle. Now I will do the exact same thing to the bottom. I decided to glue the top and the bottom first because I thought it would give me an idea of where I needed to place the little house that will go in the middle. I didn't do a great job, but you know, it is what it is. So we're gonna move on. Now it's time to spray paint our houses. I decided to go with black spray paint, but you could use any color. And you know, I was going to do this because I was trying to be lazy and I wanted the whole thing to be black, the inside, the outside, and I was like, this is gonna be way faster than, you know, doing it by hand. But I was a little wrong. So once I was done, I don't know if you can see the inside of the houses, they didn't paint it all the way and it was bothering me. So I decided to grab this scrapbook of paper. This is definitely optional. You could paint the inside a whole different color, but because mine didn't work, I ended up having to do this. But these papers, I grabbed them from Hobby Lobby, and so I traced the little house on the paper, but of course it was too wide, and then I had to trim the edges to make sure it fits. So I cut the top, and the top was fine. Then I just had to trim both the 2 sides and the bottom of this little home, and I kind of pushed it in there and kind of make a crease with my nails. And then once I thought that this was going to work, I end up removing the whole paper and then just trimming the edges. And then after that it's going to fit. But I wanted to say that I grabbed this paper from Dollar Tree, and not Dollar Tree, I'm so sorry, from Hobby Lobby, and they had a 50% off on them. So I think I ended up paying like 30 cents for each of these sheets of paper, and I ended up using 2 of them. Okay, now jumping back to the DIY. Once I got all my 3 little houses, I am going to hot glue them into place. The reason why is because I don't have Mod Podge, so I decided that I was just gonna go with hot glue. So I end up you know, adding hot glue to the edges, and they looked fine. But of course, if you are going to use this decor for outdoor, you want to seal them with something, just because if they're gonna be exposed to rain or anything like that, you want that to stay in place. Okay, once that was done, I end up using my Cricut machine, and I cut the words "Welcome to our home." And as you can see, the word "welcome" was a little too big, so I had to trim a little bit off of it to make sure it fit, and then kind of just put it sideways instead. And it's not what I was envisioning, but then it ends up working out and I end up liking it a lot. So I am just placing these letters into place. Placing these letters into place, that's so silly. But anyway, I am just adding these words into the little homes, and that is honestly all I did for this project. Now you can add a hanger to the back, or you can leave it as is and sit it somewhere, make it lean on something so it can stand up. But I think these houses were adorable, super easy to make, and you can make them any color you want. And I really like how easy this project was and how beautiful this turns out. That completes this project. And here is the end result. I decided to take mine outside and go ahead and sit it on top of the planter that I DIY on my last video, which the video would be showing up somewhere up here. So click on it if you're interested in seeing how I DIY it. And yeah, that is all for this project. Now let's jump into the next one. For this project, I am going to use this bucket I picked up during fall season at Dollar Tree. And then I'm going to need 1 container of caulk as well as 4 wooden beads, and then some black and white paint, and then a couple of things along the way. Okay, I'm going to start with the bucket and I'm going to hot glue the 4 beads to the bottom. This is going to be our new legs, and I wish I had a little bigger beads, but this is what we had, so we're gonna go with it. Once they are glued into place, this is what it looks like. How cute is this? Now the next step is I am going to draw 2 vines around this. I hope that that's what they're called, but I am going to create or I guess draw these 2 lines along the sides of what the words that this container already has. And then once they are I draw those, I'm going to add some leaves to them. This is so it can help me for the next step. I am going to use the caulk, and I was hoping this was gonna work, and I promise you it does. So I'm going to add this on top of it. So this is why I draw the vines on it first, so I know exactly where I need to be adding my caulk. Now it's not gonna look perfect, but I promise you it looks really, really pretty once it's done. And I wish the tip of this was a little finer because I feel like it would have been a lot better. But, you know, we work with what we have. So where we draw, that's where I'm adding this. I wanted to keep the words farm fresh on there. And then I was going to add garden. I try to write it with my hand, but like my writing is horrible. So I end up scratching that off. And instead, I end up adding these 2 cute flowers. They're the laser cut flowers from Dollar Tree. So I grabbed 2 of them, and that's what I decided to hot glue in the middle, and they sat there perfectly fine. Once that was done, I decided to add some texture because this is going to be an actual pot for me, so I wanted to give it some texture, make it look like it's actually like pottery, but like still give it that farmhouse look. And this is what I came up with. So I added the caulk, and then with a separate brush, this is a really tough brush actually. I think I picked it up from Dollar Tree somewhere, and then I just kind of stamp it on there until I cover up the whole thing. Once that was done, I painted my soon-to-be pot in the color black. I used spray paint because this is going to be a pot that is actually going to go outside, and I needed this paint to stay. So I gave it a good coat of paint. Once it was dried, this is what it looks like. Now you could leave it like this, but I decided to distress mine, and I added some white paint. Now I just went crazy with it. I just added paint in. Until I was happy with it. So you have fun here, you know, decide how much paint you want. It doesn't need to be perfect. I love the way this is looking, and I really love that those flowers are there because I think it gives it that look that I was looking for. And so here's a look at what mine looks like now. And then once that is done, that is actually all for this one. Now I am going to add some flowers and you know, some greenery just so you can see the look. But I am going to be buying some plants. I know I said that on my last video, and I am going to buy some plants. Okay, just hang in there. I'll show you when I get them. If you follow me on Instagram, I will show you there. So this is all I got for this project. Now let's take a look at the end result. And here it is. I absolutely love how this cute pot turned out. I think I'm going to be doing this on a bigger one, and I'll see how that turns out. But I absolutely love it. Let me know in the comments down below what you think about my project. For this project, I am going to be using this Dollar Tree sign that I picked up during Easter season, actually here recently. I'm also going to use this Dollar Tree sticker or decal. I will be using some black paint and something to create a hanger. Now I am going to start with the sign, and I am going to trim off the bunny portion. It's really sad, but I'm not gonna need it, so I use my hawk saw saw, and I'm going to be cutting that off, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. Bye bye, bunny, we're gonna miss you. Okay, now here is our sign, and now I'm taking the sticker and I'm removing the end of it because I'm trying to see how much I need to paint on the edges. I decided to do 1 centimeter, so I'm gonna mark a centimeter up and down on both sides. This is so it can guide me when I go in there with tape. And as you can see, I am using clear tape. This is regular Dollar Tree clear tape, but if you have painter's tape, I feel like it would work better. It should work better than this, but this one does the job. You just have to be very careful. Now once I add the tape, I'm sorry, to the top and the bottom, now we're gonna go in with some chalk paint from Dollar Tree, and I would say don't paint like I'm doing right now, because you're risking getting the paint under, which I did a little bit on one side. Paint up and down as I'm doing it right now, because it's going to help you keep the paint just not away from the going under, you know. And once I do that, I do the exact same thing on the other 2 edges. And once I am completed or once I'm done painting the edges, I remove the tape, and this is what it looks like. And I didn't show you on the top and bottom, but this is the end result on this. Okay, now the next step is to grab the sticker, and this project is super easy and I think it turns out really, really cool. So you take the sticker, and then I'm trying to figure out, or I'm trying to make sure that this is as centered as possible. Once that is done, all is done is to either, if you're gonna hang this, then create a hanger, and if you're not, if you're just gonna place it somewhere around your house where it's gonna be leaning against something, then you don't have to worry about this step. But this is what I did. I took some twine, created a knot on the end, and then I just found something else to cover that up to you know, make sure this is gonna stay in place and secure. And then that is all for this project. How easy and cool this project turned out. And here is the final result. I loved that this project was so easy to make and can definitely be used indoors and outdoors. Let me know your thoughts down below on this adorable sign. Okay, for this project, I will be using 2 of these Dollar Tree signs, and then I have these really thick wooden dowels that my husband brought me the other day, and that is what I'm going to be using for this project. But you could definitely take these Dollar Tree signs that are a little longer and buy 4 of them and glue 2 together on each side, but that is definitely optional to you how tall you want this to be. Now you will need some buckets. Here are some examples. I don't end up using these, but these are all from Dollar Tree that I've had for a while. Now ignore that sign because we're not gonna need it, but we will need some paint. Okay, now I am going to start with the thicker wooden dowels and one of the smaller Dollar Tree signs, and I am going to use some hot glue for now. This is just so I can secure the pieces into place before we jump into the next step. Now I glued that one flat on, and then this one is going to be the skinnier side is going to, this is going to be the bottom. I'm sorry, this is going to be the bottom, so this is why the reason for this one sitting the way it is. Then I added some hot glue again. Then this is what it looks like. As you can see, this one is, the sign is looking down, on the other one is gonna face it forward. Okay, so this is a better look at it. Now, once that is done, I took my drill and I'm going to add some screws into this. I will be using mine for outdoors, so I need this to be extra secure. But if you are going to use yours for inside, then hot glue should be totally fine, or maybe grab some wood glue. But yeah, for mine, I am using some screws and I will be screwing the 4 corners into place. Here is a look of what mine is looking like. Now I decided to add an extra piece at the bottom. I had this scrap of wood laying around. As you can see, it's like all painted in all kinds of different colors, and I needed this again because this is going to sit outside and I needed it to be a little bit more heavy. So this thicker piece of lumber it's going to help it a lot. So that's why I decided to do that. So I used some wood glue as well as some hot glue, and I sat that on there, and that is going to be the bottom. Now here's a look at what it's looking like so far. And yeah, so I'm just making sure that I'm extra securing this piece. Now I was going to take it outside and spray paint it, but this day was so windy and it was not working out for me. So I don't show this part, but I do take it inside and I spray paint this completely with white. Now once that is done and dried, the next step is to add this hook. This one, I have no idea what size it is, but it was a pack, and I want to say it came with like 10, and I got them from like Walmart. And I am going to use this I'm going to screw it on there because this is going to be holding our planter. I was able to screw it on there with my own hand. You don't need any extra tools. Then once that is done and secure, I am going to take these chains that I had from last year. These are the Dollar Tree planters. They are holding a black basket. I just removed the basket. I don't know where the basket is, but I had these ones from last year. So I just take these chains, and they're easily you can easily open these little hooks on them and then make them shorter. So that's what I did. First of all, I removed one of the chains because I had 3. And then the chains that I had left, I cut them shorter because I don't need them to be as long. And then I just push them back into place. And my chains are ready. Now this is the bucket that I will be using. I did pick it up from Dollar Tree a while ago. I think I've seen them still. I'm sure they still have them. And now this part is optional, but I decided to make this a sign. And so I end up using vinyl in my Cricut machine and cut the word welcome. But if you want to do this, you could use stickers. And if you don't want to do it, you could definitely skip this. But I decided to go with this, and I absolutely love it. And that completes this project. All that's left is to add some flowers to our pot, and we are done. Now, here is the finalized project. I am so happy how this project turned out. I was inspired by Pinterest. I have seen some of these and I wanted to DIY my own, and I'm so happy I did it because I absolutely love it. This is probably my favorite DIY. Let me know in the comments down below which one is yours. And for this project, I am going to be using this box I picked up from a thrift store. I think it cost me like $1. And then I'm going to use this knobs I had for a long time. And I'm going to be using some white and black paint. Now, I am going to start with the knobs, and I'm going to be gluing them at the bottom of this box because these are going to be our new legs. And these items, of course, are not Dollar Tree, but these might be items you have laying around your house and you don't know what to do. And I decided to include it in this video because this box could be used indoors and outdoors as well. I think mine is gonna go outdoors for sure. And yeah, I just wanted to include it in this video. And then I wanted to ask you, are you interested in doing thrift flips? I know that not every store has the exact same thing, but you know, for the most part, you get similar items. You know, I absolutely love doing thrift flips, and I want to start including that in my channel again. I did do some last year, but I would like to do some more, but I would like to hear your thoughts. So if you could comment down below and let me know if you're interested, I would love to know. But yeah, going back into the tutorial, all I did was paint this box. Not everything white. I left the inside alone because I don't know. I just decided to leave it like that. And then the corners on this box, I really like the look on them, so I didn't mess with them. What I did end up doing after my white paint dried, I grabbed the chalkboard paint from Dollar Tree and the black paint, and then I just distressed my box with it because I think the white was good, but then I needed a little bit something. And when I added the black, I was like, yeah, that's what I was needing. So that's what I decided to do with mine. However, I do want to point out that I did like the grain on this box, but my legs were a different color, and then the box was a different color, and then the corners were different colors. So I was like, how am I going to fix this? There was no fixing this. And I decided to paint it and then distress it with black. That's my take on it. Let me know if you would have done something different with this box. I love how this box turned out. But yeah, let me know in the comments down below what you think. And yeah, I am hoping that if you are not subscribed to my channel, that you will consider subscribing and joining this creative squad. And now here's a look at my box. That is all for this project. It was really easy, and I think this box turned out super cute. Let me know what you think. Now let's take a look at the end result. For this DIY, I'm going to be using two of these little beach houses. I showed you this as an option, but I do not end up using this, and you'll see why. Now, I also needed some yellow. I thought I was going to need yellow, but I only end up using white paint. So there's that. We're going to start with the little houses by removing the little top piece, which is supposed to be the roof on this house. I thought I was going to use it. I don't end up using it, but it's definitely an option. You'll see in a little bit. Now, I need to remove the sticker that this came with, and I was trying to peel off this whole top part of it, but I end up deciding that's not what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna send it down here in a little bit. These do come with like little nails attached to it. I just took some pliers and kind of wiggled them around until I finally got all of them out. And now once that is done, I do show you here one of these broke. Just be really careful if you're gonna use them, and if it breaks, just glue it back, and there you have it. Now I showed you this because this is definitely an option. You can use the frame on these signs that Dollar Tree sells if you don't want to spend that much money. Now keep in mind that they're all four are not the same size, and that's the reason why I do not end up using them. But Dollar Tree did start selling the wooden longer pieces, so there's that. Here I am sending down my little houses. Now I have my two houses down, and I also need an extra piece of wood, and here are the sticks that I'm actually going to be using. The wooden bottom, Dollar Tree does sell now wooden planks, so you're able to pick it up from Dollar Tree as well. And then here I am trying to find exactly where I'm going to be drilling the holes, because we're going to be creating a really cute basket. I did it off camera, and here are my pieces. Now I'm gonna use hot glue to attach the houses to the bottom of this, and I've already figured out that that was probably not gonna be strong enough, so we're gonna finish gluing the two little houses to the edges of this wooden piece. And then I decided I needed to staple them to make sure that they're not gonna go anywhere, and that this is going to be sturdy enough to carry it around. It's not like you're going to be carrying it around, but I just wanted it to be extra secure, so I end up stapling the bottom. I do two on each side, and that is plenty and enough for me. And here is our soon-to-be basket. Now, here are the wooden sticks I was talking about. These are actually painter, or I guess paint stirrers. These were used in one of my last year projects. I just removed them and I recycled them for this project. But you could definitely use the wooden longer pieces that Dollar Tree started selling, or you could even buy the painters, or I'm sorry, the paint stirrers, and cut them to the size you need them, or use the Dollar Tree frame that I showed you earlier. They were not both long enough for me to cover this thing, so that's why I decided to switch to these, but definitely are options. Now, as you can see, I finished attaching the sides to this really cute basket, and I decided to go with white for my basket, but you're more than welcome to paint this any color. If you want to keep it bee themed, you could even paint this black, you could paint it yellow, and really any color you like. So I gave mine a really good coat of paint in the color white, and as always, I'm using my apple barrel paint because I like it. It works for me. But You could definitely use some chalk paint, you know, just do whatever you want for your basket. But yeah, so I'm gonna finish painting my basket, and then we're gonna move on to the next step. Here is my basket, and as you can see, the bottom of this basket is actually a little bit distressed, which I really like that that's there. Now, I took the stickers, or I guess wall decals from Dollar Tree, and these are super cute, and I was so excited that I got to use these ones. As you can see, I cut this in half, and the word B with this cute flower and the B are going to go on one side of our basket, and then we're gonna do the happy on the other side. You don't even know how happy I was to use this because I've had these for a while and I could not figure out what to use them for, and then I was like, bee theme stickers, yes. I'm like really excited about this. I think this basket turns out really cute, but let me know in the comments down below what you think. As you can see, I had to cut this piece in half because it was way too long for what I wanted to do. So I placed the flowers at the bottom, and then there's a little bit sticking out, so I just trim it with my scissors. And then once that is done, I am going to move on to the word happy and the bee, and I think this is super cute. And again, if you wanted to seal this, if you think this is going to come off because it's a sticker, you could always seal it with some Mod Podge and it'll be good to go. Look how cute this is. I love it. Now, for the next and last step, I took some twine rope and I am going to create our handle. I run it through the holes that I drill, and then I just trim the rope to the size I needed, and that is literally all for this project. Now you get to style it however you want. I will be throwing some greenery in there here in a little bit, but how easy and how beautiful is this project? I absolutely love it. Thank you so much for suggesting to do bee decor because it's definitely helping me step out of my comfort zone, and I'm learning that I actually love it. That is all for this project. Now let's check out the end result. How cute is this basket? I absolutely love it. I think it looks really high end. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. Don't forget to comment with any suggestions on videos I should be recording because I'm so excited to create more content. Thank you so much for all your support, and now let's jump into the next one. For this project, I will be recycling this wreath from Dollar Tree. I'm also going to use different yellow greenery, some ribbon, and I'm also going to use some black paint. I will also use this circle round from Dollar Tree, and I am going to be using some more vinyl decals. Okay, first things first, I will be spray painting black my wreath. Once that is done, here's what it looks like. Now we're gonna have fun with some greenery. I am going to take all these flowers apart. I will trim them individually so I can manage them and add them to my wreath. And I'm gonna start with the yellow flowers. All of this greenery is from Dollar Tree, and honestly, you can have this decorated however you want. I'm going to show you the way I did mine, which is adding the big yellow flowers first, and then after that I start playing around with this other greenery from Dollar Tree. I don't remember what it's called, but all of this greenery is going to be from Dollar Tree. So they're a little longer and they're green. I really like them, so I kind of just started adding them on there, and this is just so I can get an idea on where everything needs to lay, and kind of starting with the big flowers so I can fill in the spaces. Now I'm taking the white flowers and I am placing them in between the yellow flowers, and then I just add the other greenery with the little hint of yellow on it, and I think it gives it a really nice look to it. Now these greenery, I want to say some of it is from last year's greenery from Dollar Tree, but you can definitely find a lot of this or similar to this. Now I had these other little yellow flowers. I started filling in the spaces wherever I thought it was needing a little bit more. That's where I added it. And then once that is done, here is a look of what I got going on so far, and I really like it. Now, I really want to make a bow because why not? It's a must, to me at least. And I am going to use this ribbon. This ribbon is actually from Hobby Lobby. I've had it for a very long time, but it's black and white, and I just thought it was perfect for this DIY. So as you can see, I trimmed a piece, and then I saw how big I need these loops to be. And then once that one was done, I took more ribbon, and I kind of just did an easy ribbon. The way I explain it is, however I tie my shoes, that's how I do this ribbon. I don't know what it's called, but that's what I call it. And then I just see how big the loops need to be compared to the one I already made. So once I figure it out, I trim it, and here are two pieces. Now I am going to zip tie both of the pieces. Now I am not a bow maker or like a professional bow maker, so maybe I'm doing this wrong, but it works, so that's good with me. Now I dovetail the ends on my little bow. And so I'm gonna do one and then the other one off camera. And now I decided to create another bow with some Dollar Tree burlap ribbon, and as you can see, I could not decide what to do, so I decided to just use the burlap ribbon and the black and white stripe ribbon. And I am going to use an extra piece of ribbon, fold it in half, glue it together, and then once that is done, I will wrap, or I guess I'll glue both of my bows together first, and then I'll wrap around my extra piece that we just did, and I will use some hot glue. Then I'll wrap it just once, and I'll trim whatever I don't need, and then we're going to glue that down here in a little bit. And that is going to be all for this bow. I really like it. See, I couldn't decide if I wanted this or not, so I kept putting it back on there, and then I was like, you know what, I end up deciding that I don't want it. But yeah, so that's what we got. Here's our cute bow. Let me know what you think. Do you like it? Do you love it? Would you have done something different? Let me know in the comments down below. Okay, for our third piece in this wreath, I take this round sign from Dollar Tree, and I am going to paint it completely in white. Are you shocked? Probably not, because everything I do is usually white. But anyway, once I finish painting it, I am going to let it dry, and then we're going to use our vinyl decals that I have, and this is going to say welcome to our hive. It was only fair because this is supposed to be a V theme, so I really wanted to do this, and I love it. Now I will say this vinyl is from Dollar Tree, and I don't know why, but I had used Dollar Tree vinyl before, and it did not give me this much trouble. This was a new roll I just recently picked up, and I had the hardest time trying to get this to stick to it. But at the end, I figured it out. We did it, and it kind of worked. Now, I had some yellow vinyl. I think it's from Cricut, the Cricut brand, and that one did not give me problems at all. So I do the honeycombs to the top and the bottom. I think that's what they're called, but I'm sure you'll let me know if that's not what they're called. But anyway, I did half at the top, half at the bottom. And how cute is this? Now this is what it looks like right now. Now here are our three pieces together. Now I'm going to start by adding a hanger to this, and this is definitely optional because you could definitely hang it without a hanger, but I needed something to hold my circle sign onto it, and I decided to use the ribbon. And I will not lie, it was kind of crooked, but you know what, it's okay because it doesn't need to be perfect, at least not for me. I think it still turns out really cute. So as you can see, I took that ribbon and I just placed the sign on top of it with some hot glue. I glued it together, and then all that's left is to glue our cute little bow to it. And again, I used some hot glue to glue that down, and I kind of just, you know, poofy the little loops on this ribbon, and that is technically all for this project. Now let's check out the end result. And here is my bee theme wreath. I think this turned out super cute. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Would you have done something different? I would like to know. For this project, I'm going to use this wooden hanging sign from Dollar Tree, 2 of the wooden crates, and then 2 of these wooden little containers from Dollar Tree. Now, you'll see a few things here we're not going to use, but I will be using the wooden stain and some white paint. Now I'm going to start with the wooden crates. I will be gluing the 2 wooden crates together, and then the other 2 square containers to the side. Now feel free to use a 3rd wooden crate. I just decided to do this because I wanted that different sizes on there, so that's why I end up using these 2, and then I also didn't have a 3rd wooden crate, so there is that. Now we're gonna jump next to staining our wooden sign, and I did remove the hanger hanger off of this. And I am going to be leaving the information on any paint or stain down below in the comment, not in the comments, sorry, in my description box. And then I will be staining the front and the back of this piece. And then once that is done, we're gonna let it dry. And now I am going to use some white paint to paint our wooden crates slash wooden, I don't know, boxes. I will be painting this completely in white. And obviously you can definitely paint these boxes a totally different color, but I decided to go with white because I really like it and I feel like it goes with the theme I'm going with. But anyway, we're gonna let them dry. Once they are dried, it's time to put these two pieces together. So I will be using hot glue to do that, and I will use the hot glue on the taller boxes, and this worked out really great because I don't have to add anything extra. If they all had been the same size, I would have to be using something to hold these two pieces together, and I didn't have to because there is you know, that different size on that little square boxes. Now I cut with my Cricut machine the words "home is where your honey is," and I am going to be adding those to my wooden sign. And I don't know why I did this. I should have just used you know, the transfer paper, but I did struggle a lot doing the circle round one that we previously did on a wreath, and so I decided to just use my hands to attach these to my sign. And I think it was a wise choice because I struggle a lot on that other one, and I think this was way faster. But anyway, I was gonna say also that you can definitely recreate this using stickers, or again, I feel like I sound like a repeating, you know, person, but you could also, if you have pretty handwriting, you could also write it on this piece, but that's not my case, so that's why I used my Cricut machine to cut the words for me. And then I added two cute little bees. How cute is this? Now all that's left is to add greenery to this. I decided to add some floral foam, and then I added some Spanish moss in there to, you know, cover the foam and the gaps. You know, I don't want to see all that stuff down there, so I used the Spanish moss, and then I just had fun adding some greenery. You can add any type of greenery. You could add yellow flowers. I didn't have any left after the wreath, so that's why I decided to just add a bunch of greenery. And I do end up adding a little bit more with the little yellow flowers on there later on, but you won't see that until the end result. That is all for this project. I hope you love this. Now let's take a look at the end result. And here is the end result. I absolutely love how this little cute planter slash sign turned out. I absolutely love it. Let me know in the comments down below if you like this box, or let me know if you have a favorite DIY in this video. I would love to see your comments down below. Leave any. For this project, I will be using this wooden plate, two wooden boxes, some floral foam, as well as some reindeer moss. And all of this is from Dollar Tree, by the way. Now I'm also going to use some greenery. You get the greenery of your choice. Now I am going to show you this paints, but you know, you can paint this any color. I don't even end up using these. I don't know why I showed them. And then a little knob. I'm going to start with removing the little tags, or I guess stickers, off the boxes and the plate. And then I am going to take the boxes and I'm going to stack them together. I will be gluing these together with hot glue. Feel free to glue it with any other stronger glue you may have around. Now I will tell you this, I suggest you, if you don't like the holes on the boxes, then go ahead and cover them. Use some popsicle sticks and glue them from the inside. I end up having to go back and fix this issue, and let me tell you, save all that time and do it right away. And anyway, now as you can see, I'm kind of getting rid of the little bumps that the glue left on around the edges. And then once that is done, I pick the side that I'm going to use to glue the wooden plate, and then I just set it right on top. Can you guess what we're making? I'm sure you already know because you saw the thumbnail, but we're making a little drawer. I love these ones. I've seen them on Pinterest and they're super cute, and I wanted to make my own with Dollar Tree items, you know it. And so this is what I came up with. Now going back to the DIY process, I grabbed a little cup, put a little bit of water, and then I mixed the brown colors and the black to create a stain. I did not end up liking this, and it doesn't look as good. So I will be going back and using my antique wax from Waverly that I forgot I had, and that's why I went through all this process. I painted this with this mixture, and I even added more paint to make it a little darker, which it was okay. Like if you don't have stain, you can definitely use it, but I didn't really like this color at all. So we're gonna go back and fix it here in a little bit. Now, don't forget to get all the edges, because you know, if you're gonna be displaying this, you wanna be sure that everything is covered in your stain or paint. You can even paint it a different color. It's your choice. This is just an idea. You know, I like my neutrals, so I try to stay with, you know, neutrals, and then I want to be able to use this all year round. Just switch greenery, so there's that. Now, after that is done, when I'm done finishing painting this, which I'm still painting it, when I'm done doing this, I decided I didn't like it. So here is me going back and using the antique wax, and it's a lot darker. I really, really like it. So I end up switching to this one, and yes, there is that. Now, let me know what kind of fall DIYs you want to see. I have some ideas, and I'm getting ready to, you know, start working on those. I was supposed to post this video like this past week, and oh my gosh, I've been so busy, and I'm trying to stay organized, but it's so hard. But you know, we'll go through it, and we'll figure it out together. Now, I don't want to show you me trying to finish, you know, staining all of that. So we're gonna jump now to adding our little knob. So I decided I was going to drill a hole and then, you know, add the knob. You can definitely use glue. I tried it with hot glue, but it ended up falling off. So you might want to use some like what's it called, super glue. Maybe it will be more stronger than hot glue, but I end up, you know, creating a hole and then just, you know, twisting and screwing the knob on there. And how cute is this drawer looking? I love it. Now, here is the part that I was talking about. I was like, these holes, they're not pretty, and then you're gonna be able to see all the floral foam and the reindeer moss. So I was like, we gotta fix this. So I go back and I added the wooden sticks, or I guess the popsicle sticks on there, and I had trouble gluing the ones at the bottom, but I did it, and there was that. Now all is left now is to add the floral foam. I cut this one in half, and then after that I cut that one half in half and that's what I'm gonna use for my box. I do end up having to cut a little bit more off of the one of the halves, just because it was a little bit thicker, so not both of them were gonna be able to fit, so that's why I end up, you know, doing that. But anyways, there is that. And then I'm gonna add hot glue to secure it down, because I don't want this moving around or knocking it down and everything falling off of it. So I added some hot glue, and then now I'm going to add some reindeer moss, and that is going to be it. I don't glue it or anything, I just sit it on top, but you're more than welcome to glue it if you feel like it's gonna be more secure. Now all that's left is to, you know, personalize your own little drawer. I end up adding these flowers because this video was supposed to go out back in mid-June, and oh my gosh, everything was so crazy. If you are interested in knowing why I was even missing, then there will be a video down below where you can hear my boring story. But anyway, so I said I was gonna post it because one, I already recorded it, I just had to edit it and all that, and then two, because you can really switch these ideas to like a fall decor or, you know, an everyday decor. Mine are a little colorful in this video, but I absolutely love them, and I hope you love them as well. And that is all for this video. Now here is the end result. Isn't this adorable? I think so. For this project, I will be using these 4 frames from Dollar Tree as well as this Hello Metal sign. I'm also going to use different kinds of greenery. I'm also going to use some black paint. I do not end up using this one. I end up using some black spray paint and then also some reindeer moss. First step, I will take the Hello sign and I will take it apart. It has some little screws. I remove them. We will only be using the metal portion of it. Now I am going to use my black spray paint and spray that on. Now the next step is to grab the frames and remove those little tags at the front. I don't know if that's what they're called, but that's what I'm doing right now, using my screwdriver, removing them all. And after that is done, I will turn the frames around and remove the back. I am going to remove the, I don't know what that is called, but the part that holds the frame, you know, standing. I will be removing that off because we don't need it for this project. Now once that is done, I will put the back on there after I remove the glass, and this is what we're gonna need for this frame. Now as you can see, it's secured. Now let's jump to the next step. I will be using my antique wax and I will be staining these a little bit darker. I love the color they have, but to be able to use them at, you know, on my wall, I need it to be a little bit more darker just because they will blend in with the color of my walls. Now, once those are done and dry, I will start gluing them together. Now, I will use some hot glue for this. And then I knew that that was not going to be, you know, as secure with just that. So we will be reinforcing here in a little bit. I glued 2 frames together and then the bottom 2. And then I am just going to glue all 4 together. Once that is completed, and, you know, don't add too much glue because you don't want that, you know, showing in the front. Now I take these tags and I use that to secure them, but if you have popsicle sticks, those will work a lot better and they might not be as bulky and as ugly. This is all I had, so I'm working with what I have, and I end up using 3 of them, 1 for the top, 1 for the middle, and 1 for the bottom. Here is my frame all secured. Now it's fun time. I am going to hot glue this reindeer moss inside the frames, and I would just, you know, add a little bit of it because I'm trying to be sure that everything is going to be glued down and not going to fall off once we make this stand. So just be sure that you glue everything down. Now is going to be just gluing down any greenery you want. These are very colorful, but you could glue anything to it and I'm sure it will look amazing as well. I picked different, I think most of this is from Dollar Tree. I want to say the peonies, I think that's what they're called. Those might be from Walmart, but I'm not sure. And then the rest of it is completely from Dollar Tree. So just have fun, fill it in with all the flowers you want. And then once that is done, this is what it looks like so far. Now, once the hello sign is completely dried, I'm going to hot glue it. You're more than welcome to screw it on there. I wanted to save time, so I'm just going to hot glue it in place. And also, if you want this to look a lot nicer, you could even add the brown paper to the back. I don't remember what it's called, but you can cover the back so it's not as ugly. I wish I would have done it, but I was in a rush and now it's too late to do it. And then I just created a hanger to be able to hang this. I just hot glue it together and that is all for this project. For this project, I am going to take 4 of these wooden boxes. I'm also going to be using this adorable home sign. I will be using this faux leather cute bag that I picked up, and I'm going to use this chalk paint and some stain. Okay, we will be starting with the boxes and we are going to remove the stickers off of them. Now, we will remove the little drawers because we don't need them for now. I am going to be hot gluing the 4 boxes together. As you can see, I'm using hot glue, but you can use any glue you have on hand. Now, I am going to be sure that every single box is as straight as I can. And using the stain of your choice or paint, you can start painting or staining. I wanted to use the stain, but I ran out of it, and I don't even know why I didn't use my antique wax, because I have plenty of that. I guess I wanted to, struggle through the process. But here it is, all painted, or I guess all stained. Now we're gonna take our little drawers and our little faux leather baggie, and I am going to use a pencil, and I will start using the boxes to trace them. I will cut one by one, just because not all the boxes are the same when it comes to Dollar Tree items, and I want to be sure that each piece fits each box correctly. So I traced it with a pencil, and then I just trim it, and I'm gonna place it right in front of it while I finish cutting the rest of them. And I don't want to put you through that, so we're gonna skip me doing all of that. Now I am going to start hot gluing the leather pieces to our boxes, and they already look adorable. Now I am hot gluing them, and we are on to our last one. Once that is done, we are going to put them to the side, and now we're gonna take our home sign. I am leaving this how as is. I try to remove the sticker at the bottom, but it's gonna be fine because we're not gonna see it anyway. Now I took some painter's tape, and I'm going to cover the sign that spells home, because I don't want to get any paint on there. We're going to paint the base in the color black, and this paint is from Dollar Tree. It's the chalk paint. I really like how dark this is, and so I'm gonna give it a very good coat of paint. Once that is done, I will set it to the side to dry. Now for the next step, this is totally optional. I don't like how small the greenery is for the letter O, so I removed it, and I started adding this other thicker greenery, and in my opinion it looks a lot better like this. So there's that. Now for the next step, I will be taking these wood rings. I don't think I showed them at the beginning, but I do end up using them. This is also optional. I took 2 of these, and then with my hawk saw, I cut them in half. Now these will be the little handles for my little drawers, but you don't have to do this step if you don't want to do the extra work, or you don't have something to cut them with. But I just thought I would show you because I think they look adorable. Now once they're cut in half, I took my antique wax and I stained them. I stained all 4 of them, and once they are dried, we will jump into the next step. Okay, for the sign, now I'm removing the tape that we put on there, and how cute is this? Now we're gonna glue our little wreath back into the O, and in my opinion this looks way better. So let me know what you think in the comments down below. Here it is. Now we're gonna put everything together. We are going to start with the little handles. I will be using hot glue. Definitely it's not going to be something that is going to be super strong, so if you want to use it to store things, you might want to think of adding smaller lightweight things. But I think it looks adorable. Let's put the boxes back in there, I guess the drawers back in there, and now we are going to hot glue our sign right on top of it, and I think this looks adorable. I think this project is super easy, definitely one of my favorites. Let me know if you're going to recreate it. That is all, and here is the end result. For this project, I will be using 2 packs of these craft ornament flowers from Dollar Tree, as well as a wooden scrap. I show you this, but I do end up switching it, and then I'm going to use some pink, white paint, and green as well. Next, I'm going to be using some spackling from Dollar Tree and a popsicle stick, and I'm going to cover up each hole in these flowers. I'm not using these as ornaments or anything that would need a hole, so we are going to cover it up, so by the end, when we're done with this project, it looks a lot nicer. Now each pack of these flowers comes with 5 flowers. I had 2 packs because I originally wanted to put some wording on it. I wanted them to say spring. However, I ran out of time and I did not have time to apply the wording on it or actually cut it. So that's the whole reason behind this. But if you don't need all 6 flowers, then use 1 pack. Or if you need more flowers, then use both packs. It's up to you. These are just ideas. And now that all the flowers are good to go, I mix a bunch of greens because I did not have the green I liked. And I still don't love this green, but we're going to roll with it. I got tired of trying to make the color I wanted. I really wanted, I think it's called Sage from Waverly, but here we are. This is the color I got and we're working with it. Now I'm grabbing my handy dandy Hippie Crafter heat gun and we are going to help these dry a little bit faster. It definitely works. I love doing this now. My projects move along a little bit faster because of this. And if you're looking for information on it, it's in my description box. Check it out. Absolutely love it. Now, once they are completely dry, it's time to flip them over and paint the other side. We want to paint front and back. So here they are all finished. Well, the leaves and stamps are finished. Now we got to move on to the flowers, which for that I'm going to be using this chalk paint and in the color pink, and I choose pink. You can choose whatever color you want. I'm going to be doing different shades of pink. Now the base of this pinks is going to be this chalk paint. If you're looking for information on the color, check it down below in the description box. Don't forget the edges because they're very important once you make these flowers stand. So paint whatever color you want. On the next flower, I added a little bit of this acrylic pink paint. I'm using this one because it's what I had, and thanks to Hippie Crafters that sent me a pack, I had this one, thank God. Now I mixed it and I paint the next flower. Then I added this brown paint from Hippie Crafters as well. It's in the same box. I think it's a pack of 20 and you get a bunch of colors, and so I grabbed that brown from there, added it to that already pink mixture, and it created this beautiful rose pink color. I love it. Then I started adding either more brown or more pink to make it a little bit darker. Now I started also placing them on top of a floral foam to help them stand and be able to paint both sides at once. And then after that, I used my Hippie Crafters heat gun to help them dry. And then once they were all done, they look like this. How cute are these flowers? I absolutely love them. I love the range of pinks. Let me know what you think. Now here is where you would be placing the wording before you glue them down. Since I didn't have time, we're moving on to gluing them onto our wooden piece. Like I said at the beginning, I show you that other sign from Dollar Tree that you can definitely use painting whatever color you want, but I really wanted to use this brown one. I think it goes better with it, and it was already stained. It saved me some time, so there is that. So what I use to glue these flowers down, it's little beads I had. It's wooden beads from Dollar Tree. I picked the smallest ones, well, not the smallest, but some that could fit behind the flowers without showing, and I glued 2 together, and then I started gluing my flowers there. You can see I add some glue to the flower, to the wood, and then I add the 2 beads that I already glued together, and then kind of held it there for a little bit. And then once you release it, it stands. It's perfect, so easy to do. So here we are finishing up our very last one, and then we're going to be doing one more step just because it bothered me when it showed that those beads are lighter than the flowers. So what I do is go back with the same green color and a brush and just paint those beads very carefully because they are already glued on there. You don't want this to get on the wood. And that is all for this project. It was so easy to do. I wish I would have put the wording on it because it would have made it a lot better. I might go back and do it, but anyways, now let's take a look at the end result. Creative Squad, thank you so much for joining me on another video. This is your friendly reminder that I am on Instagram and TikTok, so follow me there for extra content. If you're new to my channel, hi, my name is Wendy and I love sharing my creative space with you. If you are not subscribed already, then hit the subscribe button before you leave. I have more DIYs, don't you worry about that. So I know we're here for that. Let's jump back into the video. For my next project, I'm going to be using the following items from Dollar Tree: this box, this water can metal sign, as well as has these little knobs. Well, these ones are actually from Hobby Lobby. And then last thing from Dollar Tree is going to be some greenery, some floral foam, and some green moss. What I'm going to do first is take my box and the little knobs. This comes in a pack of 6 and I'm going to need 4 of them. Now, if you need information on what they are and sizes and all that, check my description box. Next, I'm going to take my drill and I'm going to be drilling holes in there, 1 on each corner. I did not mark them. I kind of just wing it and I think it looks good. So we're going to finish that up. Once we have all the 4 holes, we are going to start gluing our little knobs into there. These are going to be the little new legs of our box. This project is so cute. I wish it was a little bit bigger and I had bigger knobs so we could do this, because I just think it will look so good. Now, I have to say that this project went a little bit south, but I think at the end I recovered it. You'll see throughout this video what happens. But so we're going to continue gluing this. You could even use wood glue if you want to. I don't see the need for that. I think they'll be just fine with glue. Now, I'm using this tiny little glue gun because I ran out of my thicker glue for my other glue gun. And I want to say I do miss it. I need to buy some more glue. Anyways, going back to this project, you can see here that you will see the knobs come through it a little bit, but it's fine because we're going to cover it up with some floral foam, as you can see now. Okay, so you can save some time. Please glue down your floral foam before you do anything else, because this is where everything went wrong. And then also the water can right there to your right. I originally wanted to paint the flowers, but ignore it as well because I changed my mind. It's going to look better without that paint on it. Trust the process, okay? So once you glue down your floral foam and your green moss, now we are going to start adding our greenery on there. I love these flowers from Dollar Tree. I said it many times. They're my favorite. So I grab 1 bouquet, I cut them individually, and I start placing them there. Now we are going to grab our water can and these wooden rounds. We're going to glue them sideways so our water can looks like it's watering this plant. So you see where I'm going. Then we are going to glue the bottom of these wooden rounds to the floral foam. Ignore everything that is going on. This is why I said do what I said, and so you don't have to do all of this I'm doing to try to recover this project. Then we're gonna have to hold it there for a little bit just because it's a little heavy and we want to make sure that the glue is dry before we release the wooden dowels. But then once you are done, it should look like this. Then all that's left now is to add all the beautiful flowers. Pick your flowers. I choose these ones because again they're my favorite, but feel free to put whatever flowers you want on it. And that is honestly all for this project. I think it was a learning curve going through this project, but at the end I think it looks so cute. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Now let's take a look at the end result. For this project, I'm going to be using these laser cutouts from Dollar Tree in the shape of a flower. This around I had laying around. It's a sign that I had for like 2 years. And then I'm going to use this candle holder. You know the drill. Now what I'm going to do first is of course remove everything off the back of this sign. And we are going to be using a screwdriver to remove the staples. And then we're going to remove all the stickers. And then it has that piece of whatever that was. I think it was like a stake or something, and it broke, and here we are. We're gonna remove it. Then what we're gonna do is take my sanding machine and we are going to start sanding both sides. I tried to remove the sticker off of this, but you are left with this on it, and I was like, I knew that wasn't gonna go well with the paint, so that's when I decided to bring my sanding machine and I started sanding it. Now I didn't remove this 100% just because it was sanding down weird and I didn't want to mess it up, so I kind of tried to remove as much as I could, but it ends up looking like this. Next, we are going to grab the flowers and the same pink paint I used on my first project, and we are going to paint the flowers all the same color. Feel free to paint in different colors, multiple colors. It is definitely your decision. I'm going with pink because I already had it, and why not use it? Now that they are all done, I'm using my Hebe crafter to help them dry so I can flip them over and paint the other side. So here they are. I pushed them to the side and then I just started drying them. It's a really easy project to do and really easy to move along. Now the next step is to grab our wooden round and some black paint, and here it is all painted. As you can see, the candlestick was already black, so we need this top to be black. However, I think I wish it was white, or at least any other like spring color, like I don't know, maybe yellow, maybe pink, I don't know. It's up to you what color you want to do it, but I definitely think that a lighter color will look better, especially with the color of the flowers. But we're gonna roll with the flow, and we are going to glue our flowers down along the side of this circle. And I'm using hot glue for this. I will say it is not strong enough for me. Some of them were falling off when I was adding stuff to them, so keep that in mind. You might want to staple them maybe. I feel like stapling them will be a lot more better. But I don't have a stapler, so I'm just throwing ideas out. And then here is what this looks like once it's all completed. You could leave it as a tray. You don't have to do the next step, but I think it makes a difference. We're going to glue our candle holder to the bottom of it so we can make it into a tray, and then you can use it to decorate for spring, whatever you want to do. You could add treats, you could add flowers, which is what I'm gonna do. Here is what this tray looks like. See, as you can see, some of the flowers were coming off. I'm not even gonna lie. And then I'm gonna place some random flowers I had laying around. I do white because I think it pops with the colors I choose, and then I'm just gonna add some random other flowers. And that is all for this project. It was so easy to do, and again, you can use this tray for whatever you want. You could add treats, flowers, Easter eggs, a bunny, I don't know, whatever you want to do. I love how this project turned out. It was so easy to do. Let me know what you think. Let's jump into the end result. For the next project, I'm going to be using this wooden pieces from Dollar Tree. I'm also going to be using some greenery, floral foam, moss, and some stain. What I'm going to do first, and I'm sorry, I thought I was recording, is glue the 4 pieces together. I used those square beads from Dollar Tree to hold them in place. Now, I will say, when you do your floral foam, measure it before you start gluing things. You can find a bottom for this. You could do cardboard, you could do some kind of like foam board to cover up the bottom. I didn't have any of that, and honestly, I think that using the same floral foam is going to be our best bet. Glue 4 beads at the bottom to hold your box together, then glue the floral foam on there, and then add 4 more beads, and that would compress, or I guess keep the floral foam from falling off. And then you end up with this, and you no longer need a bottom anymore because you already have that floral foam there. I hope that makes sense. Then I'm gonna grab my Waverly antique wax, and I'm going to stain this adorable box and our other wooden plank right there laying down. We will also stain that one because we want this to be cohesive and look like one whole piece. So I use a paper towel, and I added some water, kind of damp it, and then I added the antique wax, and it's so easy to do. You move a lot faster. I've seen some people use baby wipes. I don't have baby wipes. I use these, and it works great. Now that you have your 2 pieces together, it's time to glue on front piece, which is this wooden plank. I add some hot glue. Be sure you measure it before you add the glue, because as you can see, I didn't, and the top glue was like just showing. It wasn't even like gluing the box together, so I kind of have to wipe it off. Thank God I realized that. And then once you are done with that, all that's left is to add some green moss, and we are going to add some flowers. And this project was so easy to do. You could even find a box already made and just, add some flowers if you wanted to. I just think this project was super easy and turns out so cute. I hope you love it. You could even throw in there some Easter stuff like eggs or a bunny, whatever you want, and then help it transition to just spring when Easter's over, or even summer. But that is all for this project. I love how easy it is. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Let's take a look at the end result, and here it is. For this DIY, I'm taking one of the foam wreaths from the Dollar Tree. This bouquet of greenery, I won't be using the pink flowers, but I will use the greenery on there. Now I also take these white flowers at the beginning, then I end up switching them. So I remove the flowers, as you can see, off the stems and start sticking them on there. If you are using flowers, then you should do this step. If not, then you should skip it and just add the Spanish moss like I'm doing right now with hot glue. And as you can see, the other greenery pieces, I trim them off individually and I will keep them there until I finish doing the Spanish moss. So all I do is just add the Spanish moss on there. 1 pack should be enough, but I had used the moss for a different project, so I didn't have enough, but you will see some bald spots that will get covered later. Okay, here's what it's looking like so far. And now that I have this on there, I'm gonna start with my greenery individual pieces that I cut out, and I will start adding them on my wreath wherever I think it needs it. It ends up covering most of it and it ends up looking good, way better at the end when I take off those white flowers. But anyway, so I'm just starting adding it on there. Some of the little pieces are a little bit flimsy, so you might want to use hot glue. Some of them I did, not a lot of them, but some of them I did end up using hot glue on them. Now it's time to grab my candle holder, and I'm going to paint this white with my acrylic white paint. Will be linked in the description box if you're interested. And then once I paint my candle white and let it dry, I'm gonna grab my brown Waverly paint and I'm going to distress it with this. And then once I am done doing that and that is dry, I'm gonna take the candle holder, and I use this screw. You could use a pencil or something else, but I basically just kind of marked exactly where I need to cut to help my candle holder fit. And then I just grab my scissors and start cutting wherever I needed to cut. And then once I do that, I do end up making a big hole in there, but it's okay because it'll get covered here, right there. It's really big, but it's fine. So I add some hot glue, and then I take my wreath and set it on top of the candle holder, and then I just add some hot glue to help it stay in place. And that is what it's looking like now. The next day I still wasn't happy about it, so I make a run to the Dollar Tree and I found this beautiful greenery that was in store last year, and I was really happy to see that they had the same ones and even better ones now. And so I remove all the ugly white flowers, and then I take this greenery pieces and I basically cut individually the branches, and then I take those and then I start adding them onto my wreath, and I love this way better. I also try to find more Spanish moss to add to my wreath, but I wasn't lucky enough to find it. They didn't have any at my local Dollar Tree, so whatever. But anyway, I believe I end up using 3 bouquets of these little greenery pieces, and at the end I had a few that I wasn't sure where I wanted to put them, so I kind of just put them there at the bottom, where I still had some bald spots and you were still able to see the floral foam. But anyway, this is what it's looking like, and I am loving it way better than what I had going on at the beginning. I'm glad I made the run to the Dollar Tree, and here is a picture of the end result. I love how this wreath turned out. Let me know what you think. For DIY number 2, here is some of the stuff that I will be using. The Jenga block, disregard because we will not be needing those. What we will be using is this windmill that the Dollar Tree is selling, and I start by removing the little chain hook that they come with, and I also want to remove the welcome sign part of this, and this metal was really tough to get off. I did struggle a little bit, but at the end I ended up taking it off. I took off more than what I wanted, but I still had the windmill, and that was a win-win for me. So I do end up removing the front little metal piece that they have, and then I just did a little bending back and forth until I got rid of the whole thing, as you can see. Now that I remove that off, I take the little circle that it comes in the front and I kind of trim off the metal piece that I am not going to need. All right, now I'm going to grab one of these Dollar Tree shatter boxes, and this one I had it from a long time ago, but I really like it because it was already looking distressed and rustic just how I like it, and I thought it went very well with the theme. Now this is optional, but I thought that putting paper under would be great for when I go and glue, and so I put it back in there. But anyway, now I took 3 of these wooden rods and I painted them black. Now you can do any color, but I went for black and I think they look amazing. I also took this bamboo stick and I painted a little bit of it, and then I trimmed that off, and that is going to be what holds my little center little piece from my windmill. Okay, leaving that to the side, now it's time to glue my wooden rods into place. And so I take the first one and add some hot glue, and then I was kind of measuring to see where everything was gonna go, and once I decided where everything was going, I added some more hot glue and I added my wooden rods in place. And then once I had them there, I kind of held them for a little bit until they were a little bit dry. Once they were a little bit dry, I added some hot glue to the top to hold them in place, and then I just reinforced with a lot more glue on the corners, and just to make sure that it was going to be stable and it was not going to fall apart. Once I had that ready to go, I took a little piece of this jute rope just to secure the top and make sure that it's not going to be moving around, and I created a couple of knots, and then I wrapped it around a little bit and then created more knots on there, and then reinforced with some hot glue. And once I had it all glued together, I added some black paint just to cover that up because everything is black and I didn't want that showing, so I added the black paint. Now that I have that ready to go, I'm going to take my windmill and my little front piece, and I did end up trimming it off because it was a little bit too long. But anyway, so I add some hot glue, and then as you can see right there, there is a little bit of a space in between the rope and the wooden rods, and that's where I stick my windmill. And I add some hot glue again, and then I also took a piece of tape to make sure that it was gonna glue exactly where I wanted it to glue and hold my windmill in place. But anyway, now I'm gonna take some floral foam and I'm going to glue it into my box, and after I am done gluing that down, I'll take some greenery, as you can see this one's, and some Spanish moss, and I'm gonna start adding all of that. Now I removed the little tape that was holding my windmill, and it does spin, but it's kind of wobbly, and it did make me a little sad because the whole purpose of me putting the stick through it was to help it and make it spin. But I think it's because I glued the little stick kind of like up a little bit, and that's why. But anyway, so as you can see, I added my Spanish moss, and then the greenery I end up trimming individual pieces, and I like it way better. I also thought they were a little bit too tall, so I end up bending the top down, and I like it way better. Now I'm gonna take these little flowers that I picked up from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm gonna add those into place. As you can see, I was adding them by themselves, but they were not sticking into the foam, so I kind of cut out a little piece of the little stem that they come with, and that was way better. I also end up trimming the tops because I didn't really like them. I think that they were again too tall, so I end up removing those off, and I like it way better. And after I was done, here is the end result. I'm in love of how this windmill box turned out. For this DIY, I'm gonna take these 3 different buckets from the Dollar Tree. This tin bucket we all want from the Dollar Tree, and they have it every year, and I love it. I didn't get to pick it up last year because they ran out really fast, but anyway, so the pink one is also from the Dollar Tree, and I was really happy that they sell them now. And the little ones, they are in the wedding section, and it comes in a pack of 2, so I just took one. But anyway, so I am basically going to paint all of these white, well, the pink one and the tin one. I'm gonna paint them white, and I will basically be giving them a couple of layers of white paint to make sure that it covers everything up and it has the coverage that I need. So that's what I'm going to be doing. Now I want to mention that the creation of this DIY was thanks to my mom. I wasn't sure what to do, and she gave me this great idea, and I am so grateful. So this is a collab with my mom, and I'm so happy. Anyway, now that they are dried, I'm gonna take some black paint and I am going to add it on the edges of these buckets. Now, as you can see, I kind of made a mistake, but it's totally fine because I am going for that. So it will have some strokes like the paint is peeling off or whatever, and you can see the black on there. I really love how this looks, and it's so fun because you cannot mess it up, because it's literally what I'm trying to do, mess it up to make it look like it was meant to be there. But anyway, so I do the top rim and the bottom rim, and then I just add random spots on there to help it look a little bit more rustic and used. Now, as you can see, the little one was already painted because I did it a few days ago before I did this, but I basically did the exact same thing, and I think they look adorable. So I'm doing the big one now, and again, I'm just painting it. As you can see, I painted a little bit on the inside because I wasn't sure what I was gonna put inside yet, and I was trying to make sure that if it was showing, it was gonna look white just like the outside. But anyway, I decided to leave the words on this bucket covered up with white paint, but you can absolutely scrape it off and have those words showing. Okay, now I'm gonna take 2 of these wooden rods from the Dollar Tree as well, and I'm going to stain them with this stain that I have. I will leave it in the description box, the color and everything. All right, now that all my pieces are ready, it's time to start adding them together, and I am going to take my middle bucket and I take my wooden rod and I kind of just see exactly where I need to cut, and then I just take this, I think they're called pruners, and yes, I did squish my hand, don't mind me. But anyway, so I take that and then I figure out exactly where I need to glue it, and then add a lot of glue, and don't worry about that because we'll cover that up later. Okay, now that I added the glue, I kind of hold it in place for a little bit so it can dry. Now I take my bucket, and as you can see, I don't know why I didn't thought about the pink showing at the bottom, but I do end up fixing that later. I do add some hot glue and kind of place my bucket exactly where I need it to be, and then add some hot glue on there to secure it, and it works out really good. Once I am done with that one, I glue the second wooden dowel, and I also end up trimming it to the size I needed, and then I take my little tiny cute bucket and I glue it into place. Now this is not heavy at all, so these wooden rods are going to hold perfectly fine. And I do the exact same thing. I add some hot glue, and I kind of wish I would have realized that I wasn't showing you, but here you are. You can see exactly where I glue everything. Now to cover that up, because I don't want that glue showing, I add some white paint where I needed to add the white paint, and I think it looks amazing. To me, it feels like it was actually welded into place because it blends so good with everything. And but anyway, that's just me. But here is where I realized that I didn't paint the bottom of my bucket, and I was like, well, too late to remove everything, so I just basically painted it while it was sitting there. But I would suggest you do it before you glue everything down so you can take off that ugly sticker. But anyway, once I am done painting with the white, I take my black paint and basically go in where I think it needs it, and where I accidentally painted it white. But anyway, so that's all I'm gonna do, just kind of go back with the little details and stuff. Once they are completed, I'm gonna take 4 of the wooden cubes and 4 of the Jenga blocks, and I am going to stain them. Once I am done staining them, I will be taking some hot glue and gluing those at the bottom, because those will be the legs of my little fountain. And I'm going to admit that I wasn't sure if I wanted to put legs on these, but then I went and asked my mom for her opinion, and she approved, and that's why I proceeded with the legs. And I'm so happy I did, because I think they look amazing. I think it gives this little bucket fountain a really high-end look, and here is what it's looking like. Woohoo, it's looking amazing. Okay, so I ran out of the floral foam, and when I made that run to the Dollar Tree, I could not find any more. So I had these styrofoam balls that I had bought for like Christmas ornaments and stuff, and I just trim off the bottom to help them sit down and glue down at the bottom of this bucket. And so I just added some hot glue and started adding my little styrofoam bowls in there to help my greenery stay in place. Okay, once I was done gluing those down, I had these scraps of floral foam, and I add those to the little buckets because they will also have greenery in them, and I needed that for that. But anyway, I also decided to add some LED lights that I had picked up from the Dollar Tree during Christmas. So because this is a little fountain, I wanted to add some fun to it, so that's why I decided to add the lights, and I basically placed them where I can reach them to turn them on and off. So if you do this, just make sure that you put the switch or the little battery box wherever you can actually turn them on and off. Okay, so now the Christmas or the little LED lights, they are not wanting to stay in place, so I add some hot glue to place them exactly where I want them to be. And once all the lights are glued down, I go in with my Spanish moss, and I also as I'm adding the moss, I am adjusting the lights because they kind of got pushed down and I do want them to show. So I just add Spanish moss and kind of fix them until I finish adding the Spanish moss on there. Okay, so I found these really cool greenery pieces that come with these white stems that I thought would be perfect to use as water, or I like to pretend it's water. But so basically I take them and I glue them on the wire of these LED lights to, one, cover them up, and two, make it seem like it's water. And I think they look really good, but I don't know, you let me know what you think in the comments down below. So basically I just added hot glue along the wire and then took pieces and glued them down, and yeah, that's basically all I do until I cover the whole thing up. And now it's time to add greenery to our fountain, and I basically take each bouquet and trim off each branch, and I use 3 different types of little greeneries that they are all from the Dollar Tree, but basically I just started adding them on there and I think it's looking amazing. I think this year's Dollar Tree greenery is really pretty. Okay, now I'm gonna take some more of these white long stems and I will be adding more because I feel like they kind of got lost a little bit in all that greenery that I put on my bucket. But anyway, now I'm gonna start adding some greenery into the smaller buckets. I do end up adding some Spanish moss to the middle bucket just because I was trying to cover up the floral foam, and then I go in with more of this same Dollar Tree greenery, and I really love how this is looking. For the top one, I add more green than purple, and then I also go back with some more of the white stems, just, I don't know, to add more and make it look fuller. And yeah, that's all I do for this. And here is how this fountain looks when it's night. I love how this DIY turned out. I feel like this is my favorite DIY. Let me know in the comments down below which one was your favorite DIY. For this DIY, I'm going to be using 4 of those galvanized frames and as well as 4 of these canvases. I'm gonna start by removing the picture on it, and just be careful. I use scissors and pliers and different things to get rid of them. They took a little bit, but they came off. Also, save the little golden hooks because we will need them at the end. Now that one of these frames is finally out, I will continue to do the other 3 off camera, and this is what it should look like when you're done. Now that I have my frames ready to go, I am going to take this paint that I already had on hand. If you see my other videos, you'll know that I had it for a while, and if you're wondering, I got it from Hobby Lobby, and I'm basically going to give my frames a distressed look. By the way, this is a chalk paint, and I just used a brush that I already had on hand and kind of just give it different strokes to make it look like it was distressed, that the paint is coming off. And I made sure that I just covered the parts that will be seen. The back, I left it how it is because it will be hanging on the wall and I won't be able to see anyway. Okay, now I'm going to take this twine rope and I'm going to glue the beginning of it, and then I'll start wrapping it around, and basically I'll do it in two parts. As you can see now, I'm gonna start wrapping it around until I get to the corner. And once I make it all the way to the corner, I am going to flip it over and I am going to be adding a little bit of hot glue on there and gluing my little twine rope on there. And once I have it there, I will trim it with my scissors, and that would be that. And then I'll start over on the other side and I will basically do the same thing. I could keep going, but I feel like it was going to be a little bit too bulky, so that's why I decided to do in two sections, and I think it turns out really good. And as you can see, I am doing the exact same thing, just wrapping it around. Once I make it back to the middle, I will be gluing that up again to the back of it, and then trimming it, and that would be that. And I will be doing that for all the four corners, and I think it looks great. Okay, now I'm gonna be using these shrimps that I got from Lowe's, I believe I paid like $3-4 for the whole pack, and I already had it on hand. I will link it below just so you can find it, but those are the ones I use because I already have them. I basically took one of them and then I marked it where I needed to cut, and then I took my 4 pieces outside and used my hacksaw and then cut the pieces, and then I brought them back inside. You could stain them, but I decided to leave mine like that. Now for the frames, I'm gonna remove the back of them because they would be too bulky to leave, so I removed that. And then be careful with this, I used this ruler and I kind of broke it, but end up working anyway. But that's what I did, just get rid of all the little pieces on the back and you're good to go. Now that I have my pieces ready to go, I use some hot glue and then I glue my wooden pieces to the back of my frame, and then I just measured it there, and you will see in a second that they were a little bit too big, so I end up trimming them. But because these shims are thicker on one side and skinny on the other side, I make sure that I put the thicker side in one corner and the skinnier side push it a little bit high up so I could trim it if I needed to, as you can see now. And I just literally took the scissors and trimmed that off, and it ends up looking really good. Now I took my picture frame and I will be using hot glue for this, and I just add some to the little piece and add my picture frame on top, which by the way, I had this frame for a while and I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and then I love how these turned out. The last step, do you remember the golden hooks? Good, because now I'm going to nail them back into place and to be able to hang our frames. And I use this pliers because yes, I do have a hammer, but I didn't want to look for it and it worked anyway. So here is what they turned out. I am in love with this DIY. I think it looks so good. Let me know in the comments down below what you think. For my next DIY, I'm gonna be using 2 of these little boxes from the Dollar Tree, and as you can see, I already removed one side. The reason for these boxes being how they are and stained already is because I used them in a different project, and I will link the video below. It's in my 5 DIY centerpieces, and I will show you in that video how I removed those if you're interested, and also you should check it out because it's a really good video. But anyway, I basically just add some hot glue to put them back together. I also end up reinforcing with more hot glue in the middle, as you can see. Now I'm going to be using 2 of these shims as well as this wooden rod. I already had this wooden rod, but I will leave the measurements in the link below. I got this one from Lowe's, I believe, but anyway, these shims, I'm gonna end up trimming them 8.5 inches tall. Okay, so I took them outside so I could use the drilling thing and to drill some holes so I can fit my wooden rod in there. And I basically took them and measured exactly where they needed to be, and then I just basically just drill it, and it was very simple. I would say that you will need this, or you could also glue the stick to them. I don't know how strong they would be, but that would work as well. Now I end up trimming them with my hacksaw, and then I took them back inside, and I used this paint from the Dollar Tree, and they are very thin, they're very watery, and they do look like a stain. The box I also painted brown, and then to make it look a little bit more distressed, I used the same paint that I used on my first DIY, and I think they look super cute, and I love this. And I am basically going to be doing the exact same thing to my 4 pieces. It is the time to put all the pieces together, and to put them together I will be using hot glue. You could use wooden glue, but hot glue works as well. And I'm basically going to be putting my 2 shims on the sides and the wooden rod through the holes that I created. And I was very careful because I did use hot glue, and maybe it's not the strongest, so I kind of just twisted until I got it all the way in on both of the holes. Now I decided to add a detail on the little edges of the little wooden rod, and I took this smaller twine and I am going to start wrapping it around the sides, and I basically wrapped it around like 3 to 4 times, I believe, and that was it. I think it gave it a little bit better look and also help the little wooden rod stay in place, and I really like how it looks. Now I'm gonna take this ribbon that I also got from the Dollar Tree, and I will be putting it on the edges of my box, and basically I'm just going to be hot gluing it into place, and I am almost done. As you can see, I'm only gluing it onto the edge of the box. I will not be gluing it on the shims because I don't think it's gonna look good, but that's only my preference. And this is basically how it's looking on one side, and here is the other side. I will finish it off camera and I will show you how it looks. And here is the end result. I love how this basket turned out. Let me know what you think. For this DIY, I'm gonna take 6 of the shims, and as you can see, one side is thick and the other is skinny, and I basically just alternated them so they could be even. And I'm gonna take another shim and I'm gonna start gluing the pieces onto the thicker side. As you can see right now, I'm gonna take my first one and I'm gonna start gluing them one by one to make sure that they are straight. As you can see, the first one was skinny, the second one was thicker, and now I'm gonna flip it over, and as you can see, now I'm gonna be using the skinnier side on the shim so they could be even, and I will also be gluing them one at a time just so I can make sure that they are all straight. And once they are all glued down, I will basically take it outside, use my hacksaw, and trim those extra pieces off. And now I'm going to stain my wood, and this time I used the same brown color, but then I added a little black to make it look a little darker, and then I basically used the same brush and I just started painting them. Not completely, I kind of gave it a distressed look, and I'm gonna be doing the exact same thing to both of my pieces. I really think that this paint, especially the brown one, works really good as a stain, but if you have a better stain, then you should use it. But this is what I did, and I think it ends up working out. Now I'm gonna take the exact same ivory chalky paint and I'm gonna give it a distressed look, and that's all I'm gonna do until I finish. I will be doing the exact same thing to both of my pieces. This is what my wooden pieces are looking like. Now I'm going to let them dry. Now I'm going to be spray painting these hooks black because all my details are going to be black, but I am pretty sure that you could find these at the Dollar Tree. I just didn't look for them because I already have these. Now I'm gonna take my hooks and I'm going to create the marks exactly where they need to go. Once I create the marks, I'm gonna take this silver screw because it's pointy. The other black ones that I had, they're flat on the pointier side. It's not pointy, but I hope that makes sense. And I'm basically going to take the screw and screw it in there to create the hole for it, so it's easier to get the black screws on there. And as you can see, I was just trying it out to make sure that it would fit. And now that I have my 4 holes in there, I'm gonna start screwing my black pieces or hooks in there, and then we'll move on. Okay, the Dollar Tree had this hanging lids that actually gave me the whole idea, and I basically bought 2 of them, and the chain was a little bit too long. I decided to make it shorter because they were not going to fit properly on this, and it was very simple to do. I just took my pliers, opened up the little hooks or the little chain circles or whatever, and then I put the back on there once I knew how long I needed them to be, and it was pretty simple. There you have it, it's ready to go. These mason jars, I got them from the Dollar Tree. I just spray painted them and added that ribbon on there. It's also from the Dollar Tree. And then to create the hooks, I took some of this twine rope and I created 2 knots on both of the ends, and then I glued them on to the back of them. And then I basically just used hot glue, and I grabbed a popsicle stick just to help it get secure and glue that on top of it, just above the knot, so if it decides to slide, which hopefully won't, it will be fine. And here is the end result. I am so proud of how these sconces turned out. For this DIY, I'm gonna take this Dollar Tree sign and I'm gonna remove the tags. Now I'm going to cut the uneven portion of this so this could be a perfect rectangle. Now I'm gonna take these wooden planks that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I'm trying to make this longer, so I'm gonna be adding 3 on each side, and it was still not covering the whole thing, so I'm gonna be cutting a little bit more at the bottom of this side to make it even with the planks. Once I figure out how much I need to cut, I will take it outside and use my hacksaw to cut the pieces that need to be cut so we can have a perfect rectangle. To glue my wooden planks together, I will be using popsicle sticks, and I would suggest you glue them horizontally because I did mine vertically and I have to go back and fix that because the wooden planks were bending. So I would suggest you do them horizontally so your piece could be safe and good to go. And once I am done doing that, I will move on to painting. I will be using this white chalk paint that I got from Hobby Lobby, and I will be painting this whole thing white. And now it's time to let it dry. Now I want to create a shiplap look, and I will be using a black marker, and basically I will be tracing exactly where the wooden planks meet, and then I will be basically creating another line on each wooden plank, if that makes sense, so I can have 2 on each of them, and now I have 6. And now I'm going to move on to painting this wooden rod black. I will leave the measurements in the comment section, not the comment section, I'm sorry, in the description box. Okay, to hang my wooden rod, I'm going to be using this picture frame holder that I got from the Dollar Tree, and I've had it for a while, and I'm going to be removing 2 of the little hook looking things. I hope that makes sense. You'll see in a second these 2 things that came off, and I will be using those as holders. Now I'm going to be taking my pencil and marking exactly where I want each of them to be and making sure that they're even on both of the sides. To create the hole, if you don't have a drill, you could use a screw and a screwdriver and screw the hole in there, or screw the screw, I guess, in there, and then unscrew it, and that would create a hole, which is what I did here. And then I just kind of twisted the screwdriver a little bit more just to make sure that the metal part was going to fit. And once I have the holes created, I'm gonna turn it around, and I will be adding a lot of glue where the hook sticks on the back to make sure that it's gonna stay in place and secure, and just make sure that they are even, and so they don't glue when they're uneven. And then to hang my little planter holder, I will be using these twine rope, and I will be adding some hot glue, and I would be using a popsicle stick to glue that as well on top of the rope, and on the ends of these rope I created knots just to make sure that there's not going to be sliding or anything. And to double secure it, I just added a whole lot of more hot glue and we're good to go. Now it's time to move on to the start of this show, and it's these buckets that the Dollar Tree carries now. I own the taller skinnier ones, which are really cute too. I just haven't come up with an idea of how I can use them, but then I saw these ones. They're shorter and wider, which I really love. And after a lot of googling and pinteresting, I came up with this idea, and I love how these turned out. I just used some twine rope and created some hooks, as you saw, and now they're good to go. They're so easy to slide in the wooden dowel, and there you go. And FYI, I bought 3 of them, but one of them for some reason was smaller than the others, which ended up working out anyway. I really love how they look. Now it's time to move on. I wanted to add some wording onto this sign, and I decided to go for Farmhouse. And also, by the way, these stickers are from the Dollar Tree and I love them. I created so many things with them. They are so well made and I love them. But anyway, once I figure out that the word was straight, then I started sticking them under, and here is a picture of the end result. I love how this DIY turned out, and by the way, those flowers are also from the Dollar Tree. I love this. Let me know what you think. To create this really cool sign, I'm going to use 6 of these Dollar Tree coasters, and I'm going to remove the wrapper. Once I have that off, I'm going to be using this white chalky paint and painting the words first. I'm going to give it a couple of layers just to make sure that they are all covered up. And once the words are already covered up and dry, I'm going to give it another layer of white paint on top of that, and that should be good. Once I have that ready to go, I am going to move on to grabbing some of this brown acrylic paint from the Dollar Tree, and I'm going to add a little bit of black to it just to make it a little darker. And I'm going to be distressing my little squares. FYI, you could also use the square wooden planks that the Dollar Tree has to create this sign. I decided to go for the coasters because I like how they look better. They're smaller as well, and I don't know, it was just my preference, but those would work as well. To create the frame for my sign, I'm going to be using this wood that I already had on hand, but originally I was going to use the wooden planks, the rectangular wooden planks, but my local Dollar Tree didn't have any, and I went there a few times and I really wanted to create this, so I decided to use this. This piece of wood was a couple of dollars from Lowe's, and it's 8 feet tall, and I really think it's a good deal, and I feel like this specific sign looks really good with this wood, but it would be up to your preference on what you want to use. Anyway, basically what I'm doing here is marking exactly where I need to cut my pieces of wood to fit my frame, and once I had that figured out, I took it outside and trim it with my hacksaw, and then I brought them back inside. Now I'm putting all my pieces where they need to go, and I will be using hot glue to glue my pieces together. As you can see now, I'm adding some hot glue, and I will be gluing all my 4 pieces together and making sure that they're not gonna go anywhere. I do decide to go back and use some nails, you would see in a second, but this worked good because it made it stick together, and when I went to do the nails on there, as you can see now, they were moved or anything, so that was great. This was just for extra support and security. Now to stain my wood, I use the exact same paint I used to distress my little squares, and it ends up looking really good. I'm telling you, Dollar Tree brown paint has saved me many times. Just add a little bit of black to make it darker, and there you have it. This is what it looks like. I think it looks really good. Okay, now I'm moving on to using popsicle sticks because I'm going to be using that on the back of my little coasters to hold them in place, and I'm going to turn it around and put my little pieces there just to see exactly where I need to glue my popsicle sticks. I use different techniques just to see what it would work. Here's what I did first. I glue the top and the bottom of these popsicle sticks, and as you can see, I'm using the coasters at the bottom to see exactly where each popsicle stick needs to go, and then I turned it over, and then I added some hot glue to the little popsicle sticks, and then I added the coaster on top, and it works really good. There towards the end, I just added the coaster and added the glue completely on the popsicle stick, and there you have them. All the 6 coasters are glued down. All right, now I had this golden hook that I had taken off from one of the frames a while ago, and I'm gonna use that as the hanger, and I'm just gonna nail that in there. All right, now I'm gonna take the same Dollar Tree words and I'm going to create the word family, and we are almost done. Basically the same technique. I just make sure that they are all even before I stick them all the way down, and this is what it's looking like. I am so proud of this sign. You don't even know how happy I am because I envisioned it and it came out way better than what I thought. And here is a picture of the end result. Also, those frames, I created them on my last video. You might want to check that out as well. The link will be in the description box. To create this adorable tray, I will be using some Dollar Tree canvas as well as this glass candle holder. As the bottom of my tray, I'm gonna be using the thicker canvas and the skinnier canvas. The skinnier is going to be glued on the top because, as you know, canvases are only framed on the edges, so that by itself is not going to work because anything that I try to sit on there will sink or move around. And so I grabbed the skinnier one and I'm going to glue it right on top. Now that I have that glued into place, I'm going to take this puzzle game that I grabbed from the Dollar Tree, and no, I'm not going to play with it. I'm going to be using this for legs because why not? I'm going to be picking 8 of them and just making sure that the little sticks that they have are even because some of them are slightly taller than others. And now it's time to move on to painting, and I will be using my trusty white chalk paint, and I'm going to paint my candle holder as well as my soon-to-be legs. And once they are done, completely covered in white paint and they are dry, I will be using the same brown paint that I used throughout the video to distress my table and my candle holder and all the legs, just to make sure that they all look like it's one piece and they go together. Now that my legs are dry, I'm gonna start by gluing them into place, and I'm just gonna make sure I put everything where it needs to go. And now I'm gonna take my trusty glue gun and I'm gonna start gluing that down. And by the way, I want to thank my best friend Gabby because she gifted me this glue gun for Christmas, and I couldn't be more happy. Thank you so much, Gabby. You know I love you. I really appreciate your gift. And as you can see, it's coming in very handy. I really like it. Thank you so much. Okay, so I almost forgot of this step, but I remember because I was building it and I was like, wait a minute, I'm missing a piece. I'm taking one of these smaller canvases and that will be the top of my little tray, and I'm distressing it as well with some of the same paint. Now I'm gonna take my glass candle holder and I'm just making sure that is going to be centered in the middle before I glue it down, marking with a pencil exactly where it needs to sit, and then I'm gonna add a lot of hot glue on there to secure it in place. Once I have all the glue on there, I will be gluing it exactly where I marked, and there you have that part. Now I'm gonna add some glue on the top, and you could mark as well the top tray just to make sure that you sit it in the right place. I didn't, but I just kind of wing it and it worked out. And I did use that other canvas to make sure it was gonna be straight as well as even to the bottom tray. Okay, so this is sort of a bonus. I found these really adorable and cute vases. To me, the taller vases look like milk bottles, so I took them outside, spray painted them white as well as the smaller one, and I took my black marker and decided to write on them, on one sweet, on the other one home. And I've seen many of them on Pinterest and I love them, but this is, I guess, a cheaper version of how you can make them. And for this smaller one, I just added some twine rope and created a little cute bow. I think they look really cute, and I don't know, I'm just in love with them. Here is a picture of how the tray and the vases turned out. By the way, those flowers are also from the Dollar Tree, which I really love. I cannot decide on which one is. For this project, I'm taking this sign from Dollar Tree as well as some nautical rope. I will be using this Waverly paint in the color moss, 2 wooden sticks, and I'm also going to use some greenery. You pick whatever you like. Okay, now I'm gonna take this sign and remove the ribbon / bow that came with this, and we're going to pop the back off of this. This is supposed to be a stack of books, but we're going to totally transform this into something else, and it's going to be awesome. As you can see, now that we removed it, it looks like a box, which is great, just what I needed. Now, I had these scraps of wood laying around, but you could totally recreate this with, I don't know, maybe jumbo popsicle sticks instead of this wooden pieces. Anything you have on hand that you can use, go ahead and use it and glue that to the sides. Now, using my drill, I went and created 2 holes. I should have done this before I glued the wooden pieces onto the box. So do as I say, not as I do. Do the holes and then glue them onto the box. Now, as you can see, I took my Waverly paint and I mixed it with some white paint. The reason for that is because I wasn't going to have enough paint, or I thought I wasn't going to have enough paint to cover the whole box. So I end up adding it to kind of make it last a little bit more, But I gave this box a good coat of paint. Now, this part is optional, but once my box was dried, I did use my Cricut machine and cut the word bloom on some vinyl, and I added it to what is going to be the front of my box. But you could definitely use stickers, or if you have pretty writing, you could definitely write it down. That is not my case, so I decided to go ahead and use my Cricut machine for this part. Now I'm going to take my nautical rope and I'm going to run it through the holes, and I will be creating a knot on the end. And this is a very easy, simple step. Once that is done, I'll just trim, whatever I'm not gonna need, and do the exact same thing on the other side. Creative Squad, if you don't have a drill, just know that you could glue another piece to the top of this, and that could be your handle. You could even use the same nautical rope, just wrap it around instead of running it through the holes like I did. Those are only a couple ideas, but I'm sure that you could definitely recreate this with things you have at home. Now, going back to this DIY, I just added the floral foam, some Spanish moss, and now I'm just going to add some greenery. All the greenery I use is from Dollar Tree, and it's actually some of my favorite greenery. So just have fun, decorate it, and then now that is done, that completes this project. And yes, you know it, now is the time to show you the end result. Look at this cute basket. I absolutely love how this basket turned out. Let me know in the comments down below if you love it as much as I do as well. And if you are not subscribed to my channel, please consider subscribing, because your support means a lot and you will be helping my channel a lot. Thank you so much for watching. Let's go to the next DIY. For our next DIY, I finally found the wooden rounds from Dollar Tree. So we're going to use it as well as the word hello. I'm going to need some greenery, some ribbon. I'm also going to use the stain. You can find the color down below, and the same green paint we used in the past project. Now, I started and I was like, I'm going to find the middle of this circle. And then I was like, wait, I haven't removed what I'm not going to use. So we're going to do that now. I removed the tag and the hanger. We're going to need it later, so you might want to save it. Next, I'm going to take some tape, and where we created a line, I'm going to place the tape on one side. Pick your side. I decided to do the bottom, or I guess stain the bottom. So I put the tape at the top to cover that where we're not going to need to paint. And honestly, I was really surprised at how well this clear tape worked, because I don't have painter's tape, and I was like, this is going to be a hot mess. But it actually works, so yay! Okay, now we're going to do the exact same thing, but on the opposite side. We're going to put the tape where we stain, and we're going to paint the top. And now we're ready to start painting. Again, I'm using the exact same color I used in my first DIY. And any information on paint or tools, it's usually in my description box. Sometimes I do forget to include things. So if I'm ever missing anything and you really want to know, just reach out to me in my comments, and I will definitely try to get to you and respond. And now that is done, we're going to let it dry. Here is the wooden round, and look how cool that looks. I didn't think it was gonna work out the way it did, but I'm really happy. Okay, anyway, now I'm gonna place the word hello on there. It's not glued. I also used some vinyl to cut the word spring, and remember, you can use stickers or you can even write it on there if you have pretty writing. And once that is done, I'm just going to place it there. I am so sorry for my camera moving. You know, your girl is in a budget, and you know, we work with what we have, and we don't have the most sturdy table, so bear with me, you know, just hang in there. We're gonna get through it and it's gonna be great. Okay, now that that is done, the word hello is still not glued, so don't worry about that. I will show you that. I haven't, because I didn't know exactly where I wanted to place it yet, and I wanted to make sure everything was going to work out the way I was planning. But anyway, so I take the greenery, and as you can see, I do 3 of the little lavenders on each side. Now the bow, I already made it. I didn't want to show you again because it's the exact same way I use to create my bows. My technique is the exact same thing, and I'm sure you don't want to sit there and watch me create the bow. And if you do, let me know. I can do a separate tutorial showing you how I do my bows, but yeah, my technique has not changed. And then once I tied all of that with a zip tie, I'm going to cover the zip tie with an extra piece of ribbon, and the burlap ribbon is from Dollar Tree. That other lace one, somebody gave it to me. It's like, it looks like it comes in like a tulle roll, and it's really, really pretty. I have no idea where they got it from, but I absolutely love it. Once that is done, I am going to add the hanger to this again. So if you saved your twine, go ahead and attach it to it, and you know, cut it as short or as long as you want it. And we're gonna create a knot in the back to make sure that it stays in place. Here's what it looks like. Once that is done, now I was brave enough to go ahead and glue down the word hello. And as you can see, I'm playing around with it, trying to see exactly where everything's gonna sit so I can make sure it's going to work out. And then we're gonna add some hot glue to the word hello. And I didn't do anything with this, but you're more than welcome to color it if you want to. I didn't, because I absolutely love the way this looks the way it is. And then now we're just gonna place the bow on top of it, and guess what? That is all for this project. How cool is that? Now here is the end result. I have to say, this one and the first one were absolutely my favorite DIYs. If these are your favorite DIYs, let me know in the comments down below, and please subscribe to my channel if you're not already. And if you are already subscribed, thank you so much. It helps my channel a lot. For the next project, I am going to use this glass vase as well as some baking soda, some white and black paint. I'm also going to need some greenery, some floral foam, and I'm also going to be using this laser cutout birds from Dollar Tree. Okay, first things first, as you can see, I show you white and black because I'm going to be mixing both of these colors to create a gray color. Now, if you have gray, you don't have to do this, but I wanted to show you what I did with mine. Now, I'm going to take the birds and I'm going to go ahead and glue them onto the glass vase. Now, I did have some technical difficulties in this project. As you can see, that one down there that is already glued was coming off. And I decided to make it a little bit thinner. So what I ended up doing was splitting the one bird into 2. And because it's going to be split, it's going to be thinner. And gluing it on there was way easier that way. As you can see, I took that bird and I added some hot glue. You could also use some E6000 or some other glue that you might have that might be a little stronger than hot glue. But yeah, that's what I ended up having to do with mine to be able to glue them into place. I only end up gluing 4 of the birds, but you could go with more or less if you like. Okay, now that that is done, I'm going to add the baking soda to my great paint because I almost forgot to do that, but thank God I remember. Once I am done mixing all of that, we're gonna have fun and we're going to start painting our vase. The goal here is to make it look like it's you know, a concrete vase instead of a glass vase. So that's why I decided to do this. Now I'm stamping the color onto the birds because they do have those cuts in them, and I want to make sure that all the paint gets in all those little crevices because we're trying to make it look like this is all one piece. So go ahead and do that. Here is what it looks like. I only gave it 1 coat of this mixture of paint and baking soda, and that was enough for me, but feel free to add more if you think you need it, and don't forget the very top edge. Okay, now I end up adding this other paint. This is like a lighter gray color. It's supposed to be chalk paint. I picked up that one from Hobby Lobby, and I wanted a little bit more dimension on this vase, so I used this brush from Dollar Tree, and I started adding it on there. It's just dry brushing on there, and I try to focus more on the little birds because I feel like it gave it a better look on them, and it popped those little crevices that these birds have. And I did went a little bit heavy on some parts, so I just went back to the gray paint and rub it on there to try to tone that down. And you can make it as light or as dark as you need it. Now this is what mine it looks like, and I love it. Now I'm going to move on to adding the floral foam in there and some green moss. I didn't glue the floral foam in there. I didn't see the need for that, but if you think you need to glue it, then go ahead and do that. Then I just stuff it with the green moss, and then all that's left is to have fun and add the greenery on there. I end up using 2 little picks from Dollar Tree, and I cut them individually, and then I just started adding them in there as I think I needed them. And then that is all for this project. Now let's take a look at the end result, and here it is. I love how this little vase turned out. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to this channel because we have new DIYs every week, and I'm sure you'll find one that you like. For this project, I'm using this house-like sign, this plaque, some greenery, and I'm also going to use this circle little sign. We'll talk about it here in a little bit. I'm also going to need a wooden dowel. I didn't show it, but we're going to need it, and some paint. Now, I'm going to start with the plaque and the wooden dowel and the little circle. The wooden dowel is not from Dollar Tree, of course, but you're gonna need something to hold your base in your home, and you'll see what I'm talking about. Now, I started painting these in the color white, and you'll see here in a little bit I changed my mind, but we're gonna go with it. Just paint them whatever color you want them. Now, I find the middle on both the bottom of my home and the plaque, and then using my drill, I created the holes big enough to run my wooden dowel through it. Now, here is where I changed my mind, and I was like, I don't want it white anymore. So I end up painting the plaque and the wooden dowel in the exact same green color we've been using on our last DIYs. And I was a lot more happier with this. And then once that is done, we're gonna let it dry and we're gonna set it to the side. Okay, now it's time to put all the pieces together. So I'm taking the wooden dowel and I'm going to run it through the hole we created on the plaque. So you just push it down, and if you made it big enough, it's going to fit perfectly. You don't need to do anything. Now the next step is to put the house at the very top of this wooden dowel. I did end up adding some hot glue to make sure it was gonna hold it. Now for my circle, I decided to use my Cricut machine and some vinyl to cut the words "Live Life in Full Bloom" to personalize this a little more. And this is spring DIY idea, so I thought this was a really cute sign, and so I just rubbed the vinyl on there, and as you can see, I was missing the letter I and the letter U. It took me a little bit to realize that I was missing those, but I do realize it, and I go back in there and I fix it. Once that is done, we're going to go ahead and glue our little sign onto it. And I forgot to mention, this little sign is from Dollar Tree, and I haven't seen it this year, but I'm sure they'll have it. And if not, you could totally recreate this with, I think they have the wooden circle cutouts now, so you could even use one of those if you wanted to, or you could even skip this whole part and just add the flowers into it. But yeah, those are only a couple of options. I'm sorry, I can't speak. But anyway, as you can see, I added some hot glue, and then I just added some some green moss into it to cover up the back of it. And then once that is done, I am going to start adding cute little flowers. These flowers are from Dollar Tree, and you could even fill it up with just flowers if you wanted to. But yeah, so here is what I do. I cut them individually, and then I just add some hot glue and start playing around with them, and adding them wherever I think they look really cute. And then once that is done, I do end up pulling these other cute roses that I keep using that are from Dollar Tree, and I picked up around Valentine's season, and I had 3 left in these colors that I thought would go well. And so I end up adding those 3. 2 are a little bit like orangey color, and then 1 is like a little bit on the pink side, so I end up adding them, and I think it gives them that little pop of something that I was looking for. And then this part is obviously optional as well, but I took this vine. It is from Dollar Tree, and I took the brown piece and I wrapped it around, and I don't know, something about it that I really liked, and I decided to use it. But definitely is a step that you could skip if you don't want to do this. And all I do is wrap it around. Whenever it's enough, I cut it off, and then I just add some hot glue to hold it to both the bottom and the top. And that is all for this project. And we made it to the end of this video. Here is a look at the end result. I think this sign turned out super cute. Let me know in the comments down below which one of these is your favorite DIY. Don't forget to subscribe. For this project, I ran into these beautiful burlap fabrics at Dollar Tree. I've had them for a little bit and I was like, these would make perfect pillows. So here we are. I'm gonna take this stripe one. It's a really springy and I absolutely love it. Plus, I'm a sucker for these kind of colors. I'm not gonna lie. So what I'm gonna do first is take the fabric, and because it was all rolled together, I'm trying to, I guess, fold where the creases are to make it a little bit more straight. It does work, but here we are. So then I'm gonna take the plain burlap fabric, and that's gonna be the back of my pillow, and I do the same. I take it in where the folds are. I kind of force it to go the opposite way to avoid it from trying to roll back up. So you can actually sew this together, but I'm not going to sew it. I'm going to hot glue it. These, I want them for my back porch, and glue is going to work just fine. But feel free to sew them if you like. Now what I'm going to do is place my pattern fabric facing me, and then we're going to glue the plain one right on top. I'm going to use hot glue, and I'm going to glue the edges first. Once I do the edges, I'm going to fold it to create a seam, and that's going to go on the inside, I know, but it's going to be very helpful to hold all that together. So here is what it looks like when all of this is done. Of course, leave an opening because we're going to need to stuff our pillow in there. So once that is done, we're going to bring the inside out, and this is what it's looking like. It's looking super, super cute. Now I'm gonna take my pillow. If you need info on pillows, these ones I got them from Amazon. It's a pack of 4 and they've been very, very helpful. I use them all the time and rotate pillowcases, and they're still standing. I love them. So I take the pillow, I stuff it in there, and then we're gonna glue the ends. And to glue them, what I do is push the fabric in to create a seam. I would say 1/2 inch inside, and then I hot glue those 2 pieces together a little bit by little, and then we were done. Now, this was super easy to do. You could do other patterns. You can even add some wording on them, and they will look super, super cute. Dollar Tree does carry different patterns, and I can't wait to pick up more. And that was all for this project. I absolutely love how these ones turned out. Now, let's take a look at the end result. Hello Creative Squad, I hope you're having an amazing day. I wanted to make a quick pause to say hi to those of you that are new to my channel. Hi, my name is Wendy and I love sharing my creative space with you. If you're not already subscribed, be sure to hit that subscribe button before you leave. Also check out my Instagram and TikTok for extra content. And now I know we're here for DIY, so let's jump back into the video. For the next project, I'm going to take these bunches of flowers that I picked up from Dollar Tree, very colorful, go wild. Then I'm going to also be using a scrap of wood. I really thought I had the Dollar Tree long planks, but I didn't, so I'm going to have to use this one. You can also not use it and you'll see why. I'm going to use these garlands that I already had purchased from Amazon. What I'm going to do first is take my wooden plank and I'm going to spray paint it with this green color. Check out the description box for the exact color. Then here we have it already painted. Now what I'm going to do is grab my 2 garlands. I'm going to start with 1 and I'm going to staple this down to my wooden plank. You could hot glue it, but I like to reuse my stuff, so I am just going to staple it. That way I can remove the staples and use this for another project later on. The purpose for this video is to use what you have at home. I mean, I did buy flowers to put on here, but you know, a lot of us, especially me that I craft, I keep a lot of flowers and greenery laying around, and sometimes I'm like, what do I do with it? And then I'm like, well, we can make a centerpiece because I really do need one for my dining table. So here we are. Now check the description box if you want to know exactly which garlands these are from Amazon. I really, really love them. So I used 2 to make it a little bit more fluffy and full. And then after all of that is stapled down, I take my picks and I'm going to cut them individually. Doing this is going to help me spread all this color throughout the centerpiece. Now here we have everything is cut and ready to go. So now it's time to grab our centerpiece and start placing them. Some of these are just stuffed in there. Some other ones are wrapped in there, especially the ones on the edge. I had to wrap because they didn't have support. But if you're gonna sit this on your table and then you just want to place the picks, then it'll be totally fine. Now I wish Dollar Tree would have had brighter color, but unfortunately this is all my local Dollar Trees had, so we're gonna work with it. Then it looks great as it is, but I really wanted that Easter touch since Easter's coming up. So I had these Dollar Tree eggs and I decided to place them all around, and I think it made a huge difference. Now once Easter's over, I will remove those and I will see if Dollar Tree has any other flowers that I can add, because I still think it needs a little bit more. But with the eggs right now, it made a huge difference. I absolutely love it. I also had these cute little bunnies, and those were bought like a few years ago from Target, but I think I need bigger ones. I'm not gonna buy any because Easter is right around the corner, so I just placed these ones to give that little bit more Easter touch. But that is all for this. Now I will show you what it looks like without the eggs, and then I will show you what it looks like with the eggs, and then I hope you love this project. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. For this project, I'm going to be using this Dollar Tree wire wreath, another garland from Amazon, some flowers, and some zip ties. What I'm going to do first is take the wire wreath and the garland, and we are going to use zip ties to secure this into place. I started with some black ones, but then throughout the video I ran out of them, and so I have to switch to the red. I did not want to use them because I thought that they might see through once we have everything, but they're not. All the flowers and everything we're going to add is going to cover this up, so we will be totally okay. So once I zip tied that, I turned the zip tie around so the tails are hanging to the back, and then at the end we turn it around and then we cut all of them off, and it looks perfect to me. Now here is what our wreath looks like. It looks a little bit like it needs a little bit more. There's a lot of space, so what I do is take these flowers. These flowers are also from Amazon, but you can absolutely use flowers from Dollar Tree to recreate this, or even Walmart carries some really cute flowers. I used them on my last video. I really love them and I wish I had more, so I could have used on my last DIY the centerpiece, but we didn't, so we go with what we got. So what I do here is take the flower, and instead of zip tying this, I how do I say this? I put it under the stems of these garlands to secure them, and I think it looks really great. It holds up awesome. Now this is what it looks like when it's almost done. It's looking amazing. I really like these colors. You know, I'm a sucker for pink and very light colors. Then I had these other foam flowers that are also from Amazon, but you can add whatever you have handy, and I think that gave them that pop of color that I wanted. Then I had these Dollar Tree sign. I didn't show you at the beginning, but I decided to use it, and I think it's perfect for this spring DIY. It has a little bird and a little flower, and these metal signs already come with the hole, so I just wrapped some wire on it, and then I tied that to my wreath at the top, and then that was all for this project. It was super easy to do. You're more than welcome to spray paint those signs. I didn't. I think it was perfect the way it was. I absolutely love it. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and now let's take a look at the end result. Creative Squad, if you made it all the way to the end, thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe before you leave if you're not already, and be sure to check out one of these videos because I know you're gonna find more inspo. Thank you so much for watching. I will see you on my next DIY. Bye.